Chapter 696. Starting from the Pope's palace, Wang Feng tried his best to train the three of them according to the Bibidan's request. Excluding Hu Laina, Yen and Evil Moon were also very talented. As members of the Golden Generation, they were qualified. Hu Laina's martial soul had mutated because of the star. Her talent was stronger than the other two, so she was naturally stronger. Although Tang San and the others caught up in soul power in only 5 years in addition, the three of them were full of respect for Popediff. No matter what Wang Feng asked them to do, they would not refuse. The training along the way was not easy. Wang Feng first turned the mysterious underworld spike into the sharp blades they were familiar with. Then, he used the sharp blades to form large heavy swords and let the three of them carry the swords as weights. On average, each of them weighed about 3,000 to 5,000 kilograms. With such a terrifying weight, if they did not use soul power, even a rank 60 soul master would not be able to withstand it for a long time. Along the way, Wang Feng took the carriage, so of course they ran, and this kind of protective gear was not ordinary. It was essentially a soul bone. Wang Feng could use the mysterious underworld spike to compress the soul power in the three of them, making it difficult for them to circulate their soul power. It strengthened their control of their soul power and improved their physique for a long time. Sometimes, Wang Feng would let the three of them be in the original sin's domain. It was their spirit and soul that suffered the various emotional impacts in the original sin's domain to temper their spirit. He was very attentive, especially Hu Laina. In order to prevent Hu Laina from having unnecessary feelings for him, Wang Feng did not show any mercy. He did not have any tender feelings for the fairer sect. He trained her fiercely until she was exhausted. After all, she was a control-type soul master. Her physical quality was actually weaker than her brother and Yen. Under the high-intensity training, Wang Feng also thought that Hu Laina was not in the mood to have any feelings for him. When they were about to reach the city near the sea, they encountered this village. Although the three of them were from the Martial Soul Palace, they were also infuriated when they saw this scene. They directly rushed up. Wang Feng did not care. Since the three of them wanted to do this, then let them kill. It was also a good opportunity to vent the tiredness caused by his demonic training for more than 10 days. Your Highness, it doesn't seem good if this continues, right? Thomas stood on top and looked down at the scene below. He whispered, "There's no end to these wolf bandits. There are more than 1,000 of them, and there's even a wolf bandit king that's comparable to a soul Doulu." Thomas was one of the older members of Popediff's entourage. He had been with Popediff when he was patrolling the continent. Along the way, Red Cardinal Thomas had also watched as the three of them were tortured by the Pope in a white robe. Even though His Majesty said that he wanted Popediff to help train 3 people, he didn't need to exaggerate so much, did he? Are you doubting me? Wang Feng said calmly. According to the history of the Martial Spirit Palace, what kind of place is the Sea God's Island? You've heard a lot about the Sea God's Island these days. Do you think the test there is that easy? If I don't train them now, what are the chances of them entering the Sea God's Island? Thomas immediately fell silent. That's right. Because the Martial Spirit Palace didn't know much about the Sea God's Island, they had been gathering information as they hurried along. They also knew that the test of the Sea God's Island was very terrifying. Until now, not many soul masters on the continent had passed the test and entered the Sea God's Island. Your Highness, look. It seems that another group of soul masters has rushed into the camp. Thomas said in surprise, "Eh? Why are these people so special?" Wang Feng glanced at him. Thomas was considered one of the Bibidan's trusted aides. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been sent to patrol the continent with him. He must know Little Three and the others. As expected, after watching for a while, Thomas's voice sank. It's Shrek's 7 monsters. This place is close to the sea. They want to go out to sea. His Majesty was right. Shrek's 7 monsters want to go out to sea. They want to go to the Sea God's Island. Thomas then looked at Wang Feng. Your Highness, do we? A cold light flashed in Thomas's eyes. Kill them? Wang Feng glanced at him indifferently. Use your brain. These 7 people aren't simple people. If you kill them, the 2 great empires and the 2 great sects will definitely retaliate. That Tang San has already been crowned king in the Heaven Dou Empire. One of them is the crown prince of the Star Luo Empire. Once they die, the 2 empires and the 2 sects will immediately break off relations with the Martial Spirit Palace. How do we carry out the second plan? The key point of the second plan is to nibble at the 2 empires and the sections. You don't even need to nibble at them. They will directly declare war on you. Thomas's face turned red when he heard this. He hurriedly said, "Isn't this a good opportunity? We can pretend to be the assassins of the wolf bandits and have nothing to do with the Martial Spirit Palace." Wang Feng nodded and pointed ahead. "But they have already discovered us. There are 2 titled Doulu. Do you think we can disguise ourselves in front of 2 titled Douluo?" Thomas was stunned. He looked into the distance, but he didn't see anything. However, he didn't dare to doubt the white-robed Popetiff's words. Wang Feng shook his head. Thomas belonged to the hawkish faction of the Martial Spirit Palace. He advocated killing. He was decisive and ruthless. If there was an opportunity, he wouldn't show mercy. According to him, it was possible to kill those who were a threat to the Martial Spirit Palace without anyone knowing. However, it wasn't that simple. Wang Feng couldn't do that. It seems like they are also very cautious. They have secretly sent someone to protect this group. Wang Feng frowned slightly. He had already sensed the auras of the 2 titled Doulu. When he saw Little Three and the others appear, Wang Feng sensed it. It was the aura of the sword Doulu. Given Ningfengji's cautiousness, even if he didn't expect the Martial Spirit Palace to send someone to stop them, he would definitely send a titled Douluo to protect them secretly until they went out to sea. After all, once they went out to sea, they would no longer be under the jurisdiction of the Martial Spirit Palace. In fact, the closer they were to the sea, the weaker the Martial Spirit Palace's power was. Wang Feng looked down and saw 2 unfamiliar figures. That should be Bai Qinxiang, right? Wang Feng looked at the figure flying in midair and attacking with the fatty. His eyes narrowed slightly. However, it seems like the fatty hasn't started yet. They are neither close nor distant. They don't have much chemistry with each other either. At the same time, Wang Feng also saw another figure. She should be Oscar's girlfriend. Both of them were flying in midair, making 2 kinds of food and giving various kinds of help to the others. Wang Feng's interest was piqued. However, Bai Qinxiang's talent is a little weak. Wang Feng thought for a while. It seems like I have to help her. Otherwise, this fatty will be a god in the future. Oscar's girlfriend is very talented. Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly had some other thoughts. End of chapter. Chapter 697. Thomas, go to a nearby city and get ready. I'll rush over after we're done here. Wang Feng ordered. Okay. Thomas nodded. Without any hesitation, he possessed his martial soul and flew into the distance. He was a soul Douluo, a flying-type soul Douluo, and his martial soul was a bat. After Thomas left, Wang Feng smiled. Fatty, I'll add fuel to the fire for you below. Hulaina was panting heavily and sweating profusely. Fortunately, her clothes were made of special materials that could absorb sweat. She didn't look too bad and didn't look too alluring. The other 2 were in the same situation. These wolf bandits weren't weak. Even though they weren't soul masters, they possessed the abilities of soul beasts. Furthermore, they possessed extremely high intelligence, and they were naturally cruel and warlike. Every single one of them was comparable to a rank 30 soul master, and many of them were comparable to rank 40 or 50 soul masters. Fortunately, they didn't have martial souls and couldn't use any soul skills. They only had the special skills of soul beasts. Otherwise, it would be too difficult for them to kill them. Sister, how are you? Evil Moon frowned and said, Take a rest first. Yen and I will hold them off. Using soul skills in such a large area is too taxing on your spiritual power. Use your body to fight. The two of them killed them easily. They mainly relied on Hulaina to charm these wolf bandits in a large area. Then, the two of them used soul skills to attack group. Large swathes of crops were harvested. Okay. Hulaina gritted her teeth and nodded. Then, she pulled out a sharp blade from the weights under her feet. She gently placed it in her hand and rushed out with a cold look in her eyes. Evil Moon and Yen followed closely behind. The three of them maintained their formation. Although the speed of killing enemies was reduced, they could save more soul power. At this moment, 3 sharp blades suddenly flew out from their bodies. The three of them paused. The blades on their bodies were placed by Lord Popediff as weight. Even in such a battle, they didn't reduce the weight at all. They didn't refuse or complain. Although they were very tired, the weight still increased from time to time. However, 3 sharp blades suddenly flew out at this moment. Could it be that Lord Popediff wanted to reduce their burden? But the three of them knew that it was impossible. That was because the 3 sharp blades did not kill the wolf bandits after flying out from their bodies. Instead, they shot towards the distant sky. Seeing this, the 3 people's gazes were also attracted. It seems like someone is rushing over here. Yen suddenly looked up at the sky. Look over there. The moment their attention was drawn over, the 3 of them saw it. Because he was too focused on the battle just now, he didn't notice that someone had come. At this moment, there were several figures in the air. 2 of them were still attacking the wolf bandits below with all their might. Chun Xiang, to the right. Watch out. 3 wolf bandits are about to ambush Mu Bai from behind. Ma Hongjun shouted, "You cover, I'll attack." Bai Qianxiang was silent. She suddenly flew over, and the wings on her back suddenly flapped rapidly, shooting out 3 wind blades toward the 3 wolf bandits. Her attack was not strong. Her few offensive soul skills could only hinder the charging momentum of the 3 wolf bandits, and cause a certain amount of damage. She couldn't kill them directly. However, Bai Qianxiang realized that when she released her soul skill, several rays of light instantly landed on her body, causing her soul power to increase by a few levels. As a result, the 3 wind blades that flew out directly killed 3 wolf bandits. Bai Qianxiang was stunned when she saw this. However, compared to Dai Mubai and Tang San below, it was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, a one-sided slaughter. These 2 people were too strong in close combat, especially Tang San. His ability to fight against groups was simply too valiant. In order to conserve soul power, Tang San did not use his blue-silver domain. He directly used his blue-silver grass, hidden weapons, and 8 spider spear. The 8 spider spear could also absorb the soul power of the wolf bandit. It could be said that the more he killed, the stronger he became. In contrast, Bai Qianxiang was more amazed by Zhu Zhuqing, who was also an agility-type soul master like her. In the crowd below, Zhu Zhuqing was like a purple lightning, shuttling through the crowd. Her sharp claws lightly slashed, and a burst of blood bloomed like fireworks. It was an artistic slaughter. Her attack power was not even fast enough to compare to Tang San and Dai Mubai. In comparison, Zhu Zhuqing's every attack was simplified to the extreme. The consumption of soul power was very little, but it could cause fatal damage to the enemy. Moreover, her speed was too fast. Compared to a pure agility-type soul master like her, she was not inferior at all. High attack and high agility. It was simply a powerful attribute that agility-type soul masters dreamed of. Her only weakness, defense, seemed to be not bad either. Bai Qianxiang even thought that, with such speed and elegant movements, it didn't matter whether she defended or not. Bai Qianxiang looked to the other side. The proud daughter of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, Ning Rongrong, was exuding the brilliance of a goddess from the 9 heavens. The mysterious and vast 9 treasure star glazed pagoda represented the ultimate enhancement. After the mysterious evolution of the 9 treasure star glazed pagoda, every ray of light could greatly enhance the teammate. Just now, it was Ning Rongrong who enhanced herself at the critical moment, making her soul power more powerful in an instant, allowing the 3 wind feather blades to directly kill the 3 powerful wolf bandits. So strong, too strong, Bai Qinxiang murmured. This Shrek 7 monsters is actually so powerful. This kind of tacit cooperation, a completely one-sided massacre. It's hard to imagine how terrifying their monster captain, Wang Feng, is, at this moment. Suddenly, a cold light suddenly came from afar. She, who was extremely fast, immediately noticed it. Qinxiang, be careful! Ma Hongjun roared. This roar made Bai Qinxiang's hair stand on end. Almost at the same time, Ning Rongrong did not hesitate and directly used the light of defense enhancement on Bai Qinxiang. But at the moment when the defense enhancement fell, the speed was too fast. The cold light flashed. Bai Qinxiang's arm had an additional scar. Fortunately, Bai Qinxiang was a pure agility-type soul master, and her reaction was extremely fast. She barely avoided it, but her defense was too weak. Swoosh! Swoosh! Another 2 cold lights left 2 scars on Bai Qinxiang's body, but they were not serious. Ma Hongjun finally saw what the attack was. It was not a soul master, but 3 arm-length sharp blades floating in the air, emitting a cold light. Swoosh! 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 The moment Ma Hongjun saw it, he was shocked and rushed toward Bai Qinxiang. Be careful! But he was still too slow. These sharp blades were too fast. Although they were very short, the speed was faster than Ma Hongjun thought. And this time, the sharp blades attacked Bai Qinxiang's wings. But the speed was several times faster than before. It was so fast that Bai Qinxiang did not even have time to react. The wings on her back shook slightly and disappeared. End of this chapter. Chapter 698. The wings were condensed after the martial soul possession. As it was not the martial soul true body, it was not a physical body, so it was different and did not cause much damage. However, the disappearance of the wings meant that she could not fly in the air, maintain her balance, and dodge. However, the sharp blades did not seem to want to let her go so easily and attacked her again. Bastard! Ma Hongjun was enraged. He sped up and hugged the falling Bai Qinxiang. Bai Qinxiang was stunned. She looked at Ma Hongjun, who was rushing towards her. On his not-so-handsome face, in addition to worry, there was a trace of madness. She saw her own reflection in his eyes. At this time, the 3 sharp blades attacked Bai Qinxiang again in a triangular formation, and one of them attacked Ma Hongjun. Bai Qinxiang, who was falling at high speed, was finally caught by Ma Hongjun. Bai Qinxiang let out a cry. Swish! 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 3 sharp blades flashed and caused 3 bloody lines. A drop of hot blood even splashed on Bai Qinxiang's face. Fatty, how are you? Bai Qinxiang was touched, but at this time, she quickly looked at Ma Hongjun's injuries. There were 3 thick scars on his chest. I'm fine. Ma Hongjun grimaced in pain. However, he felt good with the warm and fragrant woman in his arms. However, right after that, the 3 sharp blades, as if they would never disappear, attacked him again. Ma Hongjun hugged Bai Qinxiang and quickly dodged, but how could he dodge? 3 more wounds appeared on Ma Hongjun's back. Put me down! Bai Qinxiang could not help but scream. Quick, put me down, or you won't be able to react. I won't put you down. Ma Hongjun's eyes flashed with a trace of ferocity. Who do you think I am? Shrek's belief is never to give up. How can I give you up? Not to mention, you are my fiancé. Hiss. As soon as he finished speaking, Ma Hongjun grimaced in pain. He twitched in pain. You, Bai Qinxiang looked at Ma Hongjun in a daze, and could not say a word for a while. What is this thing? Bai Qinxiang gritted her teeth. It doesn't seem to be an attack from the wolf bandits. It's a soul master, Ma Hongjun panted. He should be a very powerful soul master. Hearing this, Bai Qinxiang was stunned. At this moment, several sausages were suddenly thrown at him. Ma Hongjun grabbed them and ate them. Then, a few glasses of white beer were thrown over. Ma Hongjun grabbed them and gulped down a few mouthfuls. He then hugged Bai Qinxiang and looked into the distance with a solemn expression. "It's that bastard!" Ning Rongrong suddenly gritted her teeth and shouted, "All of you be careful! Don't care about the wolf bandits! It's that bastard!" These words were directed at the three people below. At this time, most of the wolf bandits had already shown signs of decline under the massacre of the two parties. There were not many left. Among them, there were two wolf bandit kings whose bodies were completely red and green. They exuded a savage and powerful aura. However, it was also at this moment that at least 100 sharp blades suddenly appeared in the sky, falling down like rain. It attacked everyone indiscriminately. Wherever it passed, the remaining wolf bandits were crushed into pieces. The two wolf bandit lords only lasted for a few seconds before dying. "What the hell is that?" Bai Qinxiang was shocked. She thought that only 3 of the sharp blades were attacking the 2 of them. She felt that it was a little strange. However, hundreds of sharp blades appeared in an instant. It was as if no one was controlling them, and they were launching an extremely powerful attack. The 3 people below naturally saw it and knew who it was. The 9 of them quickly gathered together. Vast Sea Cosmic Shroud. A water-blue triangular shroud appeared in Tang San's hand. Under the infusion of his soul power, it quickly expanded and enveloped the 3 of them. Countless sharp blades were like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, killing the remaining wolf bandits and attacking them together. "The 7 of you are one. Give me your soul power. Rongrong, use your skull soul skill to connect us together," Tang San ordered with a solemn expression. As soon as he finished speaking, a faint light appeared in Ning Rongrong's head and enveloped everyone in the vast sea cosmic shroud. In an instant, everyone's minds shook, and they felt as if there was a faint connection between the 9 of them. The 6 freaks injected their soul power into Tang San. Bai Qinxiang and Shun Lingqi, who were unfamiliar with them, hesitated for a moment. Then, they slowly tried to attach one of them to Ma Hongjun and the other to Oscar and injected their soul power into them respectively. Under the effect of the enormous soul power, the vast sea cosmic shroud emitted a dazzling water-blue light. In an instant it blocked the locust-like sharp blades. After a while, everyone's soul power was gradually depleted. The vast sea cosmic shroud was a gift from the Empire's imperial family to Tang San. It was a special divine weapon with many functions. Their defensive power was naturally extremely strong, but it consumed a lot of soul power. After the slaughter just now, everyone had consumed a lot of soul power. They were not in good condition. At this moment, it was a little difficult to rely on the vast sea cosmic shroud to block the attacks of those sharp blades. They were too powerful. Bai Qinxiang could even feel the aura of death from those sharp blades. They cut the water-blue shroud and formed torrents as if they were going to cut it open. Just as everyone's breathing became more rapid, a cold snort suddenly sounded from afar. Then, a sword light suddenly slashed down. In an instant, it shattered the trajectory of all the sharp blades. With this, the 9 people instantly heaved a sigh of relief. The vast sea cosmic shroud returned to Tang San's hand. "What's going on?" Bai Qinxiang supported Ma Hongjun, and Ma Hongjun took the opportunity to put his arm around Bai Qinxiang's shoulder. Oscar and Shun Lingqi supported each other. Dai Mubai and Tang San supported each other. Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing supported each other. Xiao Wu was sent into Tang San's 100 treasures pouch. Everyone gritted their teeth. Among them, Ning Rongrong was the most angry. Her face was flushed red. At the same time, a figure suddenly rose into the sky from afar. He flew over on a sword, his white beard fluttering. It was the sword Douluo. At the same time, another figure appeared in the distance. Countless sharp blades appeared behind the figure as if they had heard a command, forming a huge sword that reached the heavens. White clothes, white mask. The white-clothed Pope Diff. Ning Rongrong gritted her teeth and said, I knew it. If the golden generation is here, that bastard must be here too. He must have attacked us just now. How dare he attack us in broad daylight? These 4 words could be said to be deafening. That's the white-clothed Pope Diff? It was the first time Bai Qinxiang and Shen Lingqi saw him. As for the others, it was also the first time Oscar and Ma Hongjun saw him. For a moment they all looked at the sky in shock. I didn't expect Senior Chen Xian to be secretly protecting us. Tang San heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, end of chapter. Chapter 699. At this moment, the sword Douluo's thunderous voice sounded in the air. Your Holiness, has your martial spirit hall become so lawless that you dare to kill other soul cultivators as you please? Hearing this, the white-clothed Pope Diff said calmly, I just want to kill these wolves. I just want to exterminate these wolf bandits. I don't want to waste time. As for them, sorry, I didn't see them. Besides, if my target was really them, they should be dead by now. What he meant was that Tang San and the others were just innocent bystanders. Their faces darkened. Bullsh *T. He definitely wants to kill us. Ma Hongjun said angrily. He attacked me and Xiang from the beginning. Fortunately, Xiang and I reacted quickly. Otherwise, we would have been cut into pieces by his sharp blade. After that, Ma Hongjun hugged Bai Qinxiang tighter and said, Xiang, my back hurts a little, hold me tight. Bai Qinxiang hurriedly hugged Ma Hongjun's waist. Tang San took out a lot of medicine from his soul tool and said, Those injuries are not simple. Apply these medicine I made on him first. With Oscar's grilled sausages, he should recover quickly. Bai Qinxiang nodded, quickly took the medicine, and gently applied it on Ma Hongjun's back. It's so good. This Bullsh *T white-clothed Pope Diff came out at the right time. Damn it. But it's really dangerous. Ma Hongjun felt Bai Qinxiang's warm little hand gently caressing his back. That kind of pleasure made him want to cry out. His other hand gently touched Bai Qinxiang's round shoulder. Thinking of the scene just now, Ma Hongjun knew that his relationship with Bai Qinxiang must have improved. At this moment, the sword Douluo in the air was furious. Innocent bystanders. Today I'll also be innocent. After that, the sword Douluo looked at Hu Laina and the other 2. The white-clothed Pope Diff shook his head and said, You can't beat me, so there's no need to fight. I'm not interested in fighting with you today. Let's go our separate ways. Chen Xian, everyone, this was too infuriating. The sword Douluo roared furiously as his 9 soul rings lit up. His 7 kills sword appeared in mid-air and exuded a monstrous killing intent. The 7 kills domain was like a ripple dispersing in mid-air, forming a unique space. Don't blame me if I try to persuade you. The white-robed Pope Diff said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, a small green flag in his hand emitted a peerless light. Under the cover of the boundless green light, the 7 murders domain instantly disappeared. The sword Douluo shuddered as he stared at the white-robed Pope Diff in shock. Senior Chen Xian, be careful. That's his other martial soul. It can break domains. Tang San's voice came from the ground. Without the 7 kills domain and the 7 kills true body, the sword Douluo was stunned. One had to know that the 7 kills field, coupled with the 7 kills sword technique, could unleash an extremely powerful force. Now, even the 7 kills field was gone. The sword Douluo felt a chill run down his spine. At the same time, a monstrous aura and a boundless black domain suddenly emanated from the white-robed Pope Diff. So strong. The sword Douluo was shocked again. He's definitely stronger than when Old Bone and I attacked him together in the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. How did he do it in such a short time? His soul power fluctuation is so strange. Of course, it was strange. Wang Feng was using the power of the blood traces to forcibly increase his attribute. However, Even though he was currently using a 6-pattern soul tool, he was still significantly more powerful than he had been during his battle against the sword Douluo. The power of the 7 blood traces had been increasing, but it was very slow. However, in the Rakshasa secret realm, the 7th blood trace had absorbed the power of the Rakshasa god and led to the increase of the power of the other 6 blood traces. At this moment, the sword Douluo looked at the white-robed Poptif. His eyes flickered as if he wanted to retreat. It was indeed not suitable to fight. Moreover, the other party's target did not seem to be Tang San and the others. At this moment, the white-robed Poptif said again, "I've said that you can't beat me now. Retreat." The sword Douluo was furious when he heard this. When he thought of how the 7 treasure glaze tile sect had almost been destroyed by this person's scheme and how he had deceived Princess Rongrong, the sword Douluo felt a surge of anger in his heart. 7 kills sword. The sword Douluo's longsword was like a rainbow as he glared coldly at the Pope. Even without using his domain and martial soul true body, he was still able to defeat the Pope. Even if he didn't use his domain, he would still fight this white-robed Poptif today. An aura gradually rose from the sword Douluo's body. Although he didn't use his domain, he only had a strong aura. Boom! A terrifying blast of air exploded in the air as the sword Douluo charged toward the white-robed sword Dalu. The white-robed Poptif just shook his head and looked at the sword Douluo. He didn't do anything. He just rolled his eyes and circulated his spiritual power like a stream. The Skirich sword on his back flew out with a whoosh. Then, it spun in the air and formed a huge sword chi in midair. Sword severing southern mountain. The Skirich sword Douluo's aura locked onto the sword Dalu. The sword Douluo was stunned. The sword Douluo was stunned. Has this kid's comprehension ability reached such a level? He can use the 7 kills swordplay with his spirit? Sword Dalu roared as he unleashed all of his soul power, and his soul rings surged as he unleashed his 7 kills true body. His 7 kills sword also transformed into a massive sword that was several tens of meters long. Sword Dalu gripped the hilt of his sword and slashed it toward the oncoming sword with his tiny body. Since his opponent had used 1 martial soul, he couldn't use a second one so quickly. Therefore, the sword Dalu wasn't worried that his 7 kills true body would be turned into a broken sword by his opponent's mysterious rainbow divine light. The two collided. An intense beam of light exploded in the sky, causing the clouds to ripple as if they were about to explode. The sword Dalu flew out, and his face was a little pale. He hurriedly faced the attack and blocked it. However, he was terrified by his opponent's spiritual power. The sword Dalu even used his spirit to control his sword. The power was directly linked to his soul bone and his spiritual power. If the other party was able to wield such terrifying power with his divine sword, then how powerful was his spiritual energy? It was unimaginable. At this moment, another sword attack came. It seemed like his opponent didn't want the rainbow divine light. The sword Dalu wasn't afraid. With the 7 kills sword true body, his fighting strength soared. Although his opponent's spiritual power was strong, he was still not afraid. Boom, boom, boom. It was as if heaven and earth were collapsing. Countless streaks of golden light spread through the clouds. Any streaks of sword light would create a 100-meter-long ravine in the forest. In fact, even the mountain peak was directly flattened. The crowd below clicked their tongues. End of chapter. Chapter 700. It's like a fight between immortals. This white-clothed Poptif is too strong. He seems to be suppressing Senior Chin Xian. Oscar couldn't help but take a bite of the sausage and said unwillingly, half a year ago, he fought to a draw with Senior Chin Xian. How did his strength increase so quickly? Indeed. In the air, white-clothed Poptif stood in place elegantly. On the other hand, the sword Dalu seemed to be in a hurry. He struggled to block every attack and was even sent flying. Not necessarily. Tang San shook his head and said, Look, Senior Chin Xian's aura is getting stronger. I think Senior Chin Xian must have other plans. As soon as Tang San finished speaking, the sword Douluo was once again shaken by the sword shadow and fell into the forest, creating a huge pit. The mountain peak that was hundreds of meters tall seemed to shake. Tang San, Grandpa Jian Ning Rongrong's eyes were filled with tears. I want to help Grandpa Jian. However, Zhu Zhuqing grabbed her and whispered, "Don't worry, it'll be fine. If you go out now, he might target us and distract Senior Chen Xian." Ning Rongrong was stunned. At this moment, the clouds and smoke dissipated. A long sword that reached the heavens came crashing down toward the spot where the sword Douluo had fallen. Seeing this, everyone's pupils shrank suddenly. In the next moment, an extremely dazzling light suddenly shot into the sky from the place where the sword Douluo fell. The terrifying aura shattered everything around. The mountain peak trembled, and the sword light shot into the sky, shaking the sky. Everyone was shocked and looked into the distance in disbelief. "This is," the sausage in Ma Hongjuan's hand dropped, and his eyes widened. "He broke through." Tang San suppressed the surprise in his heart and said excitedly, "Senior Chen Xian broke through." Senior Chen Xian was at the peak of rank 96 a long time ago, but he couldn't break through. I didn't expect him to break through in such a life-and-death battle. This is great. Powerful soul power undulations seemed to symbolize the rise of a powerful titled Dalu. Everyone stared at that location. Although it was far away, they could still see it. An old man, whose entire body was radiating brilliant light, used both of his hands to block Poptif's sword. Then, he threw the heaven-piercing long sword into the air. Ha 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 ha! The sword Douluo's white hair danced wildly in the wind, and a deranged smile appeared on his face. The pinnacle of level 96 was only one step away from level 97. However, this step had stopped countless titled Douluo since ancient times. But now, he had finally taken this step. "White Poptif, I'll let you be my sword test stone and reach level 97. Thank you." The sword Douluo rose up into the air, and appraised the white-robed Poptif with a scorching light in his eyes. His aura had become far more powerful than before. Hearing this, Tang San and the others were even more excited. Senior Chen Xian is indeed shrewd. Ma Hongjun laughed heartily. Is that white-robed Poptif so angry that his lungs are about to explode? Not many people can achieve a breakthrough at the last minute. I heard that white-robed Poptif's cultivation method is to absorb the aura of various emotions to cultivate. He's an emotionless person. Dai Mubai also smiled and said, "He can't feel the aura." Tang San nodded slightly. He had also heard of it and had seen it several times. At this moment, another figure suddenly rose up from afar. It was Dugu Bo. Seeing this, everyone was enlightened again. "Old poison." Tang San was stunned for a moment before he laughed again. "It seems like none of the titled Douluo are simple. The two of them must be scheming against white-robed Poptif. Senior Sword must have been planning to use white-robed Poptif as a sword test stone from the beginning to break through." Everyone nodded with a smile on their faces. Dugu Bo's appearance was obviously so. Otherwise, Dugu Bo would have appeared from the beginning. Only Zhu Zhuqing silently watched the figure in midair. "Congratulations!" White-robed Poptif was silent for a long time before he withdrew his sword and landed in front of Hulaina and the others. The three of them quickly boarded the sword. White-robed Poptif leaped into the air and landed beside the sword. His voice was still calm. "We'll meet again someday." After saying that, he turned into a stream of light with the three of them and quickly disappeared from the spot. "Tisk tsk tsk. Congratulations? I think he must be angry." Ma Hongjun chuckled. "I'm afraid he said that to maintain his poise, right? If it were me, I would have exploded with anger." Thinking of this, Ma Hongjun touched Bai Qinxiang's shoulder again. "Don't move." Bai Qinxiang glared at Ma Hongjun. "Your injuries haven't healed yet." Fatty, do you want to die? Being glared at, Ma Hongjun was not afraid at all. Instead, he felt that the beauty was infinitely charming and made his imagination run wild. At this moment, the sword Douluo suddenly fell from the distance and landed beside them. Everyone hurried over. Grandpa Jian, are you okay? Ning Rongrong rushed over first. The sword Douluo smiled and shook his head. Although he broke through, his spirit hasn't recovered. He needs to recuperate. However, he shouldn't have much soul power. If we fight, Old Poison and I shouldn't be able to deal with him. Fortunately, white-robed Popediff doesn't want to be entangled with us too much. Old Sword and I are here to protect you in secret. Douluo glanced at everyone and said with a smile, I didn't expect that someone from the Martial Soul Hall would appear. Looking at the situation, it's very likely that they will go to the Sea God's Island. When the time comes, you have to be very careful. Once out of the sea, you have to rely on yourselves. Everyone nodded heavily. The situation on the continent was changing rapidly. As titled Douluo, the two of them naturally couldn't leave easily. It was already very difficult for them to protect them all the way here. Senior Chun Xian, congratulations on breaking through to rank 97. Tang San and the others congratulated him. However, after this battle, Tang San and the others, other than Xiao Wu, also felt a long-lost tacit understanding and cooperation. Especially towards the end, Shen Lingqi and Bai Qinxiang also felt a little more tacit understanding with them. Among them, the happiest was naturally Ma Hongjun. It could be said that his relationship with Bai Qinxiang had improved by leaps and bounds. After meeting the sword Douluo and Douluo, the group was not in a hurry to continue their journey. Instead, they recuperated where they were. To their surprise, they found a soul bone on one of the wolf bandit kings. This was because one of the wolf bandit kings had charged towards them, while the other had charged towards Hulaina. They had gained a lot. At night, everyone gathered around the bonfire. The 9 of them leaned against each other. The atmosphere was very harmonious as they talked about today's battle experience. Fatty, your performance today was really good. Oscar chuckled. Ma Hongjun scratched his head embarrassedly and laughed foolishly. Bai Qinxiang leaned against him and snorted softly. However, a smile appeared on her face. At this moment, Ning Rongrong looked at Zhu Zhuqing, who was a little quiet, and said in surprise, Zhuqing, you don't seem happy. Zhu Zhuqing was stunned. She shook her head and said slowly, It's nothing. It's nothing. I just miss someone. P.S. End of 10 chapters. If there are more votes tomorrow, I'll continue with 10 chapters. End of chapter. Chapter 701. Everyone was stunned when they heard Zhu Zhuqing's words. On second thought, he knew who Zhu Zhuqing was talking about. Ning Rongrong pursed her lips and said, What's there to think about? I don't want to at all. Everyone. Oscar suddenly looked into the distance and said, Captain, why are you here? As he spoke, Oscar stood up and greeted her. Everyone was stunned. Ning Rongrong hurriedly turned her head and looked into the distance. However, when she turned around, she realized that Oscar was lying to her. After all, this wasn't the first time. Oscar. Ning Rongrong was so angry that her face turned red. Everyone laughed out loud. Shen Lingqi couldn't help but beat Oscar a few times and said, Rongrong, don't be angry. I'll teach him a lesson for you. Oscar hurriedly covered his head and begged for mercy, chuckling. Zhu Zhuqing smiled gently. She subconsciously thought of that figure again, and sighed in her heart. Everyone fooled around for a while. At this moment, Tang San gave the soul bone to Dai Mubai and said, I didn't expect this wolf thief king to drop a soul bone. Boss Dai, this soul bone is for you. It's also our spoil of war. I think it should be more suitable for you. It was a leg bone. Dai Mubai didn't stand on ceremony. There was no need for formalities between the 7 of them. It's a pity. I remember that there were 2 wolf thief kings at that time. The other one probably dropped a soul bone, Oscar said. Oscar said. The few of us were in midair, so we saw it clearly. That soul bone should have been taken by the martial soul hall. There were 2 wolf thief kings at that time, and one of them charged at them. One should be content. Dai Mubai thought for a moment. It's good enough to get a soul bone. Senior Chen Xian was able to break through. No matter how you look at it, we've profited greatly from this battle. However, I realized that Sister Lingqi's white beer tastes really good. Actually, the biggest gain was that they had returned to their original tacit understanding, especially with the 2 newcomers. Of course, Ma Hongjun was the happiest. But we still have to be careful, Tang San said seriously. Although the people of the Martial Spirit Palace are only from the Golden Generation, the 3 of them are the most talented in the Martial Spirit Palace. All of you have also seen this battle. Their strength is not weak. This place is close to the sea. It is easy to imagine that these 3 people will also be heading out to sea. Then there's only one destination, the Sea God's Island. Tang San's words struck the bottom of everyone's hearts. This was very obvious. If that was the case, then they had to be extremely careful on this trip out to sea. Don't worry. In Lin Hai, the Martial Spirit Palace's influence is weaker. Dai Mubai snorted coldly. Once out of the sea, the Martial Spirit Palace won't be able to do anything. It's simply wishful thinking for the 3 of them to want to deal with us. Out of the sea, the Martial Spirit Palace wouldn't be in their sphere of influence. To some extent, it was much safer than the continent. However, the sea was also extremely dangerous. On the other side, Hulaina and the others had indeed obtained soul bones. Teacher, this soul bone, Hulaina and the other 2 sat on the spacious flying sword. They tilted their heads and looked at the white-clothed Popediff. Along the way, the 3 of them didn't call him Popediff. Instead, they called him Teacher. Naturally, it was the same after they left the sea. Wang Feng glanced at this soul bone and said, "You guys can distribute it yourselves. You guys did well in this battle. You were able to fight while carrying heavy loads and only suffered some light injuries." Hearing this, the 3 of them were delighted. There was nothing more exciting than receiving Popediff's praise and affirmation. "Brother Yen, you guys can have these 2 soul bones." Hulaina thought for a while and said, "I don't really need it. This soul bone should strengthen the Wolf Thief King's close combat ability. The soul skill should also be related to the Wolf Thief King. I don't need it for the time being." All these years, the 2 of them had a soul bone on them. Hulaina even had 3. There was even an external soul bone among them. Yen and Evil Moon both had one. The Martial Soul Hall still valued them. After Hulaina handed the soul bones to the 2 of them, she walked to Wang Feng's side and said softly, "Teacher, I don't blame you for what happened today. These titled Douluo were too cunning." Hulaina was talking about how the sword Douluo had used Popediff as a guinea pig to help him break through. Of course it's not my fault. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. If I didn't do it on purpose, the sword Douluo wouldn't have been unable to break through. Of course, he didn't do it to deal with the wolf bandit. He only pretended to do it because he sensed the sword Douluo's aura. He wanted to see if he could help the sword Douluo break through in such a life-and-death battle. After all, there was a high probability that this would happen. If they really fought, Wang Feng would have directly activated 7 blood patterns. The sword Douluo might not have been able to last more than a few moves. The final sword strike would have already landed on the sword Douluo. In fact, Wang Feng's plan could be considered a success. It seems like I've given the right amount of experience, Wang Fengxin thought to himself. However, Wang Feng said calmly, "Are you trying to comfort me? It seems like your training isn't enough. Give me another 500 kilograms. Go and cultivate. Think about today's battle and the test on the Sea God's Island." After he finished speaking, several sharp blades landed on Hulaina's thighs and back, causing her to sink. Hulaina didn't say anything. She only glanced at Wang Feng before silently walking to the side to cultivate. The flying sword flew forward leisurely. On the second day, they arrived at the largest coastal city in the Heaven Do Empire, Oceanic City. In midair, Wang Feng was able to take in the entire city at a glance. It looked like an ancient castle from the Middle Ages. It was majestic and towering. When he looked into the distance, he could even see the blue sea that connected to the horizon. It was already close to dusk. The originally clear blue sea was a magnificent red under the setting sun. The water swayed, creating layers of waves. The setting sun sank into the horizon, and only half of it was visible. This magnificent scene made the three of them feel relaxed and happy, as they had never seen the sea before. "It's so beautiful." Hulaina's eyes were somewhat mesmerized as she watched. She was deeply attracted by this scene. From time to time, they could see some sea soul beasts stirring up waves in the distant sea. Looking down from the sky, one could see that the harbor of Oceanic City was filled with large ships. "These ships are quite big," Wang Fengxin praised. "This city is extraordinary." Large ships sailed into the harbor from various places. It felt like thousands of streams were returning to the sea. However, there wasn't a single ship leaving. Then, Wang Feng landed with the three of them. In this city, there were soul masters patrolling the sky. The management was quite strict. However, the patrolling soul masters were from the Martial Soul Hall and the Oceanic City officials. Although the Martial Soul Hall's control over the coastal cities was weak, they couldn't give up on a large city like Oceanic City. End of chapter. Chapter 702. In this vast sea city, there were two martial spirit main halls, one in the north and one in the south. There was no other way because this city was too big. Because this trip was disguised as going out to sea, they did not go directly to the Martial Spirit Hall, but Thomas secretly arranged a hotel for them to rest in. And coming to Vast Sea City meant that Thomas would no longer follow them. Vast Sea City, in a hotel. After the three entered the city, they put on a simple disguise. Even Wang Feng's white clothes were changed into a black robe and windbreaker, and his mask was also changed. This made the group less conspicuous. Rest in Vast Sea City for 2 to 3 days, find a ship heading to Sea God's Island, and then set off. Wang Feng looked at the three and said. The three nodded. "Teacher, there is a great soul arena here. Shall we go and participate?" Yan's face had a bit of fighting spirit. "I don't think we need to rest. The assessment of Sea God's Island is definitely very difficult. We have to hurry up and improve ourselves. Once out of the sea, the Martial Spirit Hall can't help us." Wang Feng glanced at Yan. Yan's talent was slightly inferior to Hulaina's, but his martial spirit was actually very strong. It was a martial spirit with an ancient bloodline, which was comparable to those top beast martial spirits. Flame Lord, with the word Lord, was naturally not simple. Moreover, he was more belligerent, straightforward and honest, and his body was relatively burly. "I also think we don't need to rest." Evil Moon also nodded in agreement, and I heard that the fighting style of those Sea Soul Masters is somewhat special. We have no experience fighting with these Sea Soul Masters before. Going to the Great Soul Arena to fight will also be beneficial for us to understand the characteristics of these Sea Soul Masters. Hulaina also nodded. These days of training had made her physical fitness gradually stronger. She already had 3 soul bones, and soul bones were extremely beneficial to a soul master's body. Furthermore, as she trained, the effects would gradually become stronger. Although she was a control-type soul master, she was not inferior to Evil Moon and Yen. Okay. Since the 3 of them wanted to fight, Wang Feng would not refuse. In fact, in terms of hard work, these 3 people of the Golden Generation were not worse than Little 3 and the others. In other words, there were countless soul masters on the continent who cultivated hard, and some may be more tenacious than Little 3 and the others. But almost none of them could reach the level of Xiao San and the others. Sometimes, when one wanted to reach the peak of cultivation, other than talent and hard work, the only thing one lacked was luck. The next day, Wang Feng took the three of them to Vast Sea City's Great Soul Arena. In Vast Sea City, because of the sea breeze, there was a fishy smell of the sea. Those who were used to this smell would find it very pleasant, while those who were not used to it would find it disgusting. The soul bone that the Wolf Thief King had dropped had also been given to Evil Moon. This was because the soul bone could increase one's speed by 50%. At the same time, it also had the ability to turn invisible and reduce damage. It was most suitable for a close combat type like Evil Moon, who was also a tool soul. Yan's martial soul was an all-round martial soul without any flaws. Apart from strengthening a soul master's abilities, soul bones were also used to make up for a soul master's weaknesses. However, most soul masters didn't have a choice. It was already good enough to have a soul bone to use. And Vast Sea City's Great Soul Arena was completely different from other Great Soul Arenas. It gave Wang Feng the feeling of walking into an aquarium. In particular, the Soul Battle Arena was actually held in a pool. It could be said that the environment had changed a lot. In the center of the arena, there was an extremely wide pool, which could be said to be of great help to water-type soul masters. Many soul masters couldn't even exert their basic combat strength in it. Wang Feng looked through the light blue floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the soul battle pool below. It was indeed difficult to defeat a sea soul master in such an environment. Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly remembered the fourth flag that was formed in the Rakshasa secret realm. It was light blue and had extraordinary power. These 5 flags symbolized the north, south, east, and west, controlling different forces, and the center. The fourth flag symbolized the north. In addition to the role of the north itself, would it also control the power of water? Wang Feng wasn't sure because he hadn't used it much. He only used the first 3 flags now. At this moment, Wang Feng's heart suddenly moved. He looked to the other side and saw that in the spectator room on the other side, Tang San and the others had also arrived. However, at this time, Wang Feng, Hu Laina, and the others had changed their clothes. As long as they didn't fight, they obviously wouldn't be seen through. Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Wang Feng with some confusion, as if her heart was moved. "This is the meteoric tear," Wang Fengxin said. Although there was a distance, with Zhu Zhuqing's keen senses, it was obvious that she had noticed something. Wang Feng turned his head and didn't look anymore. "Teacher, it's our turn." At this time, Evil Moon and Hu Laina's expressions changed and they walked down. Wang Feng nodded slightly. The host above the soul battle pool had already called the names of the 2 pairs. Yen was going to fight a solo battle. Evil Moon and Hu Laina's opponents were also 2 sea soul masters who were soul emperors. Their martial souls were all seals, however, one of them was a gold seal, and the other was a silver seal. It was called the gold and silver combination. It might sound funny, but this gold and silver combination was not weak and even very strong, especially in the water. Soon, the battle below began. Wang Feng watched quietly. Half a month of training wouldn't make any qualitative changes to the 3 of them, but only in the aspect of spiritual power there was sufficient progress. Spiritual power was actually related to many aspects. Even if there was no direct attack method, the stronger a soul master's spiritual power was, the greater the use of various soul skills, the control of soul power, and the control of the battlefield. Under the original Sin domain, the 3 of them could be said to be suffering and improving their spiritual power at the same time. Although this method of improvement was a little cruel, the effect was very significant. Along the way, Wang Feng didn't train the 3 of them in fighting methods, because everyone had their own fighting methods that they were used to. What he improved was the strength of the 3 of them. At this moment, the battle began. Evil Moon floated in the water and threw out the 2 moon blades formed by his martial soul. "Nana!" Evil Moon shouted. On the other side, Hu Laina rushed out. Fighting in the pool, the strength of the 2 would be greatly reduced. The reason was very simple. Any attack in the water, especially with a tool martial soul, would be greatly resisted. This pool was 10 meters deep. No matter how fierce the attack was, even a soul emperor couldn't avoid it. The two gold and silver seal soul masters, a man and a woman, were a couple. At this time, under the possession of their martial souls, even their skin was faintly blue. At the same time, their skin contracted, and golden or silver fins grew on their elbows and calves, which allowed them to walk in the water and were very agile. End of this chapter. Chapter 703. Neither Hulaina nor Evil Moon had the ability to fly. At this time, it was very difficult to defeat these two people in the pool. Evil Moon and Hulaina had been trained, so they could only move in the water. Compared to the two seals, they were worlds apart. At this moment, seeing Evil Moon's actions, the two seals were stunned. Immediately, their soul rings lit up, and the two of them gathered in the sea and spun quickly. Under the possession of the martial soul, two gold and silver lights disturbed the airflow in the pool and drowned Evil Moon in an instant. But the two full moon blades glided on the water. Immediately, several soul rings lit up on Evil Moon's body, and the two full moon blades split apart. It was Evil Moon's soul skill, Moon Shadow. Dozens of full moon blades split apart and emitted a faint bloody light. These full moon blades fell from the air, and under the delicate control of Evil Moon's soul power, they attached themselves to the water. Then, Hulaina jumped out of the water. Her graceful figure made many of the audience shout excitedly. After jumping out of the water, Hulaina landed lightly on the full moon blades floating on the water. With the help of the full moon blades, she nimbly attacked the two seals in the center of the pool. The two of them were brother and sister, so they naturally had a tacit understanding and cooperation. Hulaina seemed to be a control-type soul master, so she wasn't suitable for attacking, but it also depended on her own strength. With the current strength of Hulaina's body and the support of the soul bone, she was extremely strong. She wasn't much inferior to a rank 60 soul warrior. Most importantly, Hulaina's spiritual power, coupled with various enhanced charm soul skills, was unstoppable. The penetration of spiritual power was not affected by the water, but it required a certain distance. The two seals were shocked to see the two of them attacking in this way. They didn't expect the other party to approach them in this way. But soon, they realized the key point. The seals suddenly opened their mouths and roared, and waves of water directly shook toward Evil Moon. At the same time, the seals also roared, but her voice was sharper, and also shook out a wave of water. The two glowing waves directly merged into one, forming a giant water ripple. It stirred up the waves in the water and bombarded Evil Moon. In the water, it was extremely difficult for Evil Moon to resist this kind of attack. If it were not for his rich combat experience, his preparation to be attacked in advance, and his quick thinking to pass through the center of the water ripples, this attack would have been enough to make him lose most of his combat effectiveness. However, the strange thing was that when he passed through the center of the ripples, although he wasn't injured physically, his spirit was greatly shaken. He couldn't help but feel shocked. This soul skill was a double attack. The outer circle of the water ripples could injure others, but the inner circle of the water ripples also had an attack that could cause a soul master's mind to be shaken. The soul force in his body seemed to have gone out of control. Evidently, this soul skill was a trap. No matter what, I'll let you eat it. The soul skill was called Seal Chaotic Divine Roar. When Evil Moon was attacked, it was difficult for him to maintain the moon blade above the water. As a result, Hulaina almost fell into the pool when she approached them. The two soul masters were very experienced. They knew that as long as they got rid of Evil Moon, it would be difficult for this land's soul master to get close to them and attack them. With this layer of buffer, Hulaina's attack would be difficult. In the spectator room, Wang Feng watched quietly. He had seen soul beasts fighting in the water, but this was the first time he saw a soul master fighting in the water. On average, the fighting strength of a sea soul master in the water was at least 20% higher, and non-sea soul masters, unless they were flying type, would be at least 20% lower. Such a result was equivalent to Evil Moon only having the strength of a rank 50 Soul King. Naturally, it was impossible for him to resist the attacks of two seals. It was equivalent to a natural restraint effect. In fact, this was similar to the special battle environment created by the four great elemental academies of the Tian-Do Empire during the competition. But now, Sea Soul Masters didn't need to create a special battle environment. It could be said that they had a natural water environment. If it was above the sea, Wang Feng shook his head. No wonder the martial spirit hall suffered such a heavy loss. At this moment, Hulaina, who had lost the support of the Moonblade, suddenly jumped high after the last Moonblade dissipated. This jump was at least more than 10 meters high. When the two seals saw this, they were overjoyed. Soul Masters who couldn't fly were like live targets when they jumped in midair. Seeing Hulaina fall from the sky, the two seals looked at each other and swung their tails. The gold and silver tails struck the surface of the water, emitting a muffled sound. Immediately, the entire pool began to boil. Pa pa pa. They kept hitting the water. Suddenly, the pool shook like a tsunami and formed a wall of water. The wall of water was more than 10 meters high and 2 to 3 meters wide. The seals followed the flow of water and swam up the wall of water. In the next moment, countless water arrows shot out from the wall of water. It was densely packed. At this moment, Hulaina landed on the other side of the wall of water and was instantly locked on by the water arrows. On the other hand, the other seals shot out countless water arrows from the pool to launch a pincer attack from both sides. Almost immediately, Hulaina fell into a huge crisis. However, Hulaina was still Hulaina. As a disciple of the Bibidon, how could she be so simple? Seeing the two separate, she wasn't shocked. Instead, she was happy. Her sixth soul ring lit up. Sixth soul skill. 100 Heavenly Fox transformations. A pitch-black soul ring lit up, and a huge fox with a star imprinted on its forehead rose from Hulaina's body. Hulaina had turned into an ice-colored water fox, and long fox ears grew out of Hulaina's body. Her entire body was covered in ice-colored fur, and her beautiful face was filled with charm. Countless ice arrows shot out. At this moment, Hulaina's body was extremely light. A layer of faint light appeared on her skin and the countless water arrows that landed on her body were directly absorbed. Immediately after, a huge amount of pink mist was released from her body. Her eyes emitted a pink light that directly aimed at the seals below. In an instant, the seals trembled and fell into a daze. Hulaina spun in midair and shot out the water arrows that she had just absorbed. They landed on the seals on the surface of the water. Miserable screams came from the pool. 100 Heavenly Fox transformations. It can transform into any type of Heavenly Fox. It can absorb attacks of the same type and reflect them back. Wang Feng looked at Hulaina. As a disciple of the Bibidon, Hulaina's soul skills were naturally researched and combined. She couldn't just randomly use them. End of chapter. Chapter 704. This Sky Fox's 100 transformation was a very powerful soul skill. It absorbed a super special soul beast, the 100 transformation elephant beast. Similar to Oscar's mirror beast, it was an extremely rare soul beast. As the name implied, it could transform into other soul beasts. Of course, it could not be transformed out of thin air. It required a certain understanding of the transformed soul beast. It did not have the ability to transform into a soul beast, only some of its characteristics. The stronger the opponent, the stronger. When Hulaina showed a flaw, the two seals were fooled and directly attacked separately, trying to give Hulaina a fatal blow. But they were obviously tricked. Great progress. Wang Feng nodded slightly. The most powerful thing about the Gold and Silver Soul Masters was that they could unleash greater strength in the water. There might be a special bond between the two of them. When they were together, the power of their soul skills would change, just like when they attacked Evil Moon. After they separated, the bond disappeared, but the attack range of the soul skills became wider. Obviously, they wanted to use this method to not give Hulaina a chance to dodge. But Hulaina's 100 transformation played a huge role at this time. She made the Golden Soul Master lose most of his combat power in advance. At the same time, the other Silver Seal Soul Master in the water wall panicked immediately after seeing his partner being attacked. In addition, the pool water below reduced because of the reduction of the water wall. Evil Moon barely recovered a bit and attacked. In a few moves, the other Silver Seal Soul Master was killed. The two seals fell into the sea just like that. The match was won. After Hulaina and Evil Moon changed their clothes, they returned to the spectator room. It was so difficult. Yen couldn't help but say, "These C-type Soul Masters are indeed very strong. Those two are only rank 61 Soul Emperors. They're a few ranks lower than you, but they were able to suppress you at the start of the battle. If Lena didn't purposely reveal an opening, you guys would have lost." Hulaina and Evil Moon nodded with some relief. Fortunately, the teachers of the Martial Spirit Hall Academy taught us how to swim in advance. Otherwise, this great soul arena of vast sea city is really not simple. Evil Moon couldn't help but sigh. Wang Feng nodded to the three. It was also the first time he saw the power of a Sea Soul Master. He couldn't help but think of the title Douluo of the Sea God's Island. The power of the sea. Wang Feng took a deep breath. Among the innate 5-element flags, there were many theories about the fourth flag that represented the north, and its name was also very different. However, it definitely had the ability to control water. Perhaps it could be very useful against titled Douluo who were fighting against Sea Soul Masters. Otherwise, Wang Feng's strength would be suppressed if he were to fight a Sea Soul Master in the ocean. After the two of them fought, Yen went to try a one-on-one battle. The two attributes of water and fire countered each other. Water could extinguish fire, but fire could also evaporate water. In essence, it depended on whose strength was higher. As a rank 67 Soul Emperor, Yan's Lord of the Flames wasn't enough to evaporate the water in the pool. Plus, he couldn't fly, so he could only use less than half of his strength in the pool. In the end, he had to rely on his powerful fifth soul skill, Soul Ignition, to turn the tables and defeat his opponent. Wang Feng still had a deep impression of Yan's fifth soul skill. It was a godly skill that could turn the tables. Once it was activated, it could only be unleashed after suffering a fatal blow. In comparison, Yan's sixth soul skill, Sea of Fire, was inferior to his fifth soul skill. His sixth soul skill, Sea of Fire, was an area of effect soul skill. In this pool, its strength would be greatly reduced. Most importantly, Yen couldn't fly. If he could fly, his strength would be enhanced. As he thought of this, Wang Feng couldn't help but look at the other soul dueling arena. At this moment, Tang San and the rest seemed to have sent people to participate in the soul dueling tournament. They were Ma Hongjun and Bai Qinxiang, whom Wang Feng was familiar with. The reason for sending these two people was very simple. Both of them had the ability to fly, so they wouldn't be at a loss when facing Sea Soul Masters for the first time. As these two people were competing in another soul dueling pool, Wang Feng watched for a while and couldn't help but find it funny. Fatty was already a Soul Emperor, but Bai Qinxiang was still far from it. Therefore, according to Fatty's level, the two Sea Soul Masters they met were also Soul Emperors. Fatty obviously wanted to fly with his sister, but it was his first time fighting against Sea Soul Masters. Although he had the advantage of flying and fire, he was still shocked. But he was also surprised. Before he could fly up, he was pressed to the ground by two Soul Emperors. If Fatty hadn't used the power of the Soul Bone at the last critical moment, coupled with Bai Qinxiang's increasingly tacit cooperation, he would have lost miserably. Although he won in the end, he barely won. The injuries he suffered before probably hadn't healed yet, so there were some new injuries. This damn fatty is still a little quick-witted, Wang Fengxian laughed secretly. He wants to be in the limelight, but it seems that his relationship with Bai Qinxiang is getting deeper and deeper. If the medicinal power of the sparrow-crowned phoenix tail sunflower can be stimulated as soon as possible, their strength and physique should improve rapidly. Fatty's rank was the lowest among the 6 people, although he was also a sole emperor. But the sparrow-crowned phoenix tail sunflower needed 2 people to combine to stimulate its full medicinal power, so Ma Hongjun hadn't fully obtained the medicinal power of the immortal herb yet. After leaving the vast ocean Great Soul dueling arena, the group rested for another day, and then bought some things to go out to sea. Then they came to the port of vast ocean city, intending to find a ship to go out to sea. However, after looking around, they found that most of the ships going out to sea had already stopped at the port. This was out of Wang Feng's expectation. Because he didn't contact the Martial Spirit Palace, Wang Feng wasn't sure what was going on. The 3 of you have just arrived at vast ocean city, right? Just when Wang Feng was speechless, a middle-aged man wearing a sailor suit next to the port smiled and said, "It's the Sea King ceremony now. Most of the soul beasts in the sea will surface during this season, and there are many 10,000-year soul beasts. If you go out at this time, you will be easily attacked by the sea spirit beasts. So, if you want to go out to sea now, not many captains are willing to take you. Even if you want to make money, you have to stay alive first. Usually, those sea spirit beasts will only go back to the sea after a month." Hearing this, Wang Feng was slightly enlightened. This port was very big, and there were at least hundreds of large ships docked at the port. Some of the ships were even hundreds of meters long. It looked similar to the large cruise ships in Wang Feng's memory. And the materials were not bad. Most of the ships were covered with a metal coating called water steel. Not only was it extremely strong, it was also very impermeable in the sea. Most importantly, it was relatively beautiful. But such a big port, which should have been a bustling place with endless streams of people, was now relatively deserted. End of chapter. Chapter 705. 1 month. Hulaina thought for a moment. It doesn't seem that long. Oh right, uncle, what is the Sea King's ceremony? The Sea King's ceremony, the middle-aged man looked at the 3 of them again. He couldn't help but laugh and shake his head. It seems like you guys have never been to Vast Sea City. The Sea King's ceremony, as the name suggests, is a day to worship the King of the Sea. Legend has it that many years ago, there was an extremely ferocious sea soul beast in the sea. Every year, it would attack the villages by the sea. This sea soul beast was very powerful. Even titled Douluo were no match for it. Our coastal cities were massacred and bullied. Until one day, a sea soul master stepped forward. He went out to sea and killed this sea soul beast. Originally, he could have absorbed the soul ring of this aquatic soul beast and become the strongest aquatic soul master in history. But in the end, the aquatic soul beast told him that if he absorbed my soul ring, he would become the next me. Therefore, he didn't absorb it. He only killed the sea soul beast. However, he was buried in the sea in the end. The middle-aged man sighed and said with a smile, "Although the story is a little old-fashioned, there are such legends in our coastal cities. Furthermore, during this season, there would be many sea spirit beasts that would appear on the various sea routes on the sea. It is said that these sea soul beasts were angry because the great sea soul master killed that powerful sea soul beast. They were angry and attacked humans. They only appear during this season because the time of the killing was during this season. In order to worship that great sea soul master, we call this season the Sea King's ceremony. For at least half a month, no one is allowed to go out to sea to reduce losses." The 3 of them were enlightened after hearing this. "Teacher, what should we do?" Yen looked at Wang Feng. "Is there really no way to go out to sea?" Hulaina asked again. Wang Feng was also silent. Although they could stay in Vast Sea City for a month, It was better to go out to sea and reach the sea god's island earlier. Wang Feng had been to the Luosha secret realm before. He knew that this kind of test would take a long time. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment and said, "There is. Generally speaking, those who go out to sea during this season are those who don't care about their lives and want to earn money. If you pay a high price, there will be people willing to take you out to sea." Wang Feng nodded slightly. He could understand this point. It was just like the Chinese New Year in his previous life, when everything would go up in price. "Is there such a person?" Hu Laina asked. "There is." The smile on the middle-aged man's face stiffened. "Usually, there are people who don't care about their lives on the sea. Pirates, right?" Wang Feng suddenly spoke. Hearing this, the three of them were stunned. The middle-aged man smiled bitterly and nodded. "That's right. Only this kind of people would risk their lives on the sea. Normally, a proper captain would choose to rest at this moment. Only those pirates who lick the blood on their blades will still drift on the sea." "Uncle, are you making fun of us?" Hu Laina was speechless. "Why would we look for pirates?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Then there's no other way. Or you can buy your own ship and go out to sea, but you won't be able to hire any sailors now." When everyone heard the middle-aged man's words, they realized that his original intention was to prevent them from going out to sea. "Wait for a month." Wang Feng didn't want to wait, so he asked, "Do you have any channels?" The middle-aged man was stunned. He was already trying to dissuade them from going out to sea, but he didn't expect them to be so persistent. "I do have some," the middle-aged man nodded. "Those of us who go out to sea are very familiar with the nearby pirate. We usually pay a toll when we go out to sea, and the officials of Oceanic City have never exterminated them. Although most of these pirates are ferocious, there are some who are easy to talk to. As long as you give them money, they will do anything. The most famous of them are the Purple Pearl Pirate. They are the strongest and the easiest to talk to. I know someone who has some connections with the Purple Pearl Pirate. If you want to go out to sea, look for him." Wang Feng nodded slightly. In fact, before Bibidon left, he had given him a special ship-shaped soul tool. As long as he poured his soul power into it, it could become a real ship. However, he had to pilot it. The reason why he needed to find someone was because the sea route was too complicated. It wasn't easy to find Sea God's Island. Only those soul masters who spent most of their time at sea would know the exact location. It didn't matter whether they were pirates or not. After all, they couldn't be stronger than him. If they really wanted to attack them, they would have to kneel in the end. Very soon, the middle-aged man brought Wang Feng and the others to a corner of the harbor. There was only a small ship here that was about 20 meters long. However, it looked extremely sturdy. There was a man with a full beard beside the ship. He was drunk, and the strong smell of alcohol could be smelled from afar. "Old Sean, you're quite lucky. There are actually people who want to go out to sea in this season. Here, it's these three. They don't lack money. Your business is here." The middle-aged man laughed. When the man with a full beard heard this, he stood up drunkenly. He lazily looked at the three of them, and a streak of light flashed across his eyes. After that, he lazily said, 10,000 gold soul coins per person. This price could be said to be a sky-high price. Ordinary medium to large-sized ships were priced at this price. "Can you really bring us out to sea?" Hulaina was a little doubtful as she looked at the man. He was about 40 years old, and he didn't care about his appearance. His hands were full of calluses, and there weren't any soul power undulations from his body. "We, the Purple Pearl, will keep our promise to protect you at sea." The man grinned. "Only the Purple Pearl can bring you out to sea in this season." Hulaina wanted to say something, but she was interrupted by Wang Feng. "All right, let's set off immediately." With that, Wang Feng casually flung out 4 black cards with 10,000 gold soul coins in them. The man with a full beard was stunned. He took the black cards and touched them. He looked at the four of them and laughed. Forthright, let's get on the ship. I'm Chun Shan. You can call me Old Shan. After saying that, the bearded man untied the plywood on his small boat and let the three of them board the boat that could not be considered big. Teacher, Laina was still a little unwilling to believe the man with a full beard. Could such a country bumpkin really take them out to sea with this tattered boat? Don't worry. Wang Feng shook his head and said, he's a rank 75 soul sage. He doesn't need to use such tricks to deceive us. With that, Laina and the others were stunned. They looked at the man called Chun Shan. He's a soul sage? Old Shan was pulling in the ship's anchor. When he heard this, his body stiffened. P.S. A few more chapters. This chapter ends. Chapter 706. A soul sage was considered an upper-middle-class soul master. In the martial spirit hall, soul sages were usually the red-robed bishops of the martial spirit hall. They were not found everywhere. Most of the soul sages were in the various academies, clans, and empires. Generally speaking, it was impossible to see a soul sage on the street. Furthermore, soul sages would usually emit a certain amount of soul power undulations. There was also an aura. Upper-middle-class soul masters would have an aura that they had cultivated over many years. One could tell at a glance that they were not ordinary people. How could it be this man who looked like an ordinary sailor? However, after hearing Poptif's words, Laina and the others did not dare to doubt him. They guessed that this man must have some method to hide his aura and prevent others from sensing him. Old Shan turned around and glanced at Wang Feng. His expression did not change as he smiled. Esteemed guest, you have good eyesight. The meaning of his words was obviously a direct admission. Seeing this, Laina and the others could not help but look at Old Shan again. Soul sages were highly valued in the martial soul palace, although there were quite a few of them. They did not expect that a soul sage would be a boatman here. This was because this boat was not big. It was quite different from an ordinary boat. It could only accommodate 10 people at most. It only had 2 floors and did not look very sturdy. When the three of them stepped on the deck, there would be squeaking sounds of metal clashing. This made the three of them wonder if such a small boat would be overturned by a single wave. My boat is not suitable for long voyages. Old Shan looked at the three of them who were puzzled. After retracting the anchor, the boat suddenly emitted a low hum as if something was being driven. The stern of the boat picked up countless waves as it slowly sailed out of the harbor. I'm just a middleman. Old Shan smiled and said, I'm responsible for bringing you to the destination of the Purple Pearl. Looking at the three of you, I don't think you're going to an ordinary island. You should be going to the Sea God's Island, right? The three of them were stunned again. You can tell. Evil Moon could not help but be surprised. Why can't I tell? Old Shan shook his head and said, I've lived in Vast Sea City for decades. I only need to take a few glances to know where someone wants to go. You're all land-based soul masters from the outside world. Most of the land-based soul masters who want to go out to sea do business. A small number of them do it for adventure, and a small number of them do it for the Sea God's Island. If the first two knew that this was the Sea King's ceremony, they definitely wouldn't have rushed out to sea. Only those soul masters who wanted to go to the Sea God's Island would be so impatient, and they weren't afraid of the Sea King's ritual. Those who dared to go to the Sea God's Island were extremely confident in their own strength. That's why I don't fear the Sea King's ritual. Hearing Old Shan's tireless explanation, the three of them looked at each other. They didn't expect an ordinary soul sage to say something like that. However, thinking about how the other party had stayed in this place for several decades, he was sure that he had seen all kinds of people, so it was understandable. Wang Feng smiled. Everyone had their own specialties. The Sea God's Island isn't a simple place. Old Shan heaved a long sigh and focused on steering the boat. He didn't say anything else. Wang Feng sensed a little. This boat seemed to be broken, but it had been specially modified. It didn't need a sailor to move it, and there was probably a special soul tool at the bottom. It wasn't slow, and it was very fast and stable. Because it was early in the morning, the boat gradually moved away from the harbor. The true scene of the sea was revealed to the three of them. It was a different thing from looking at it from midair. Wang Feng could also feel the majestic waves of the sea, which corresponded to the azure sky. The three of them stood at the bow of the boat, surrounded by boundless seawater. It felt as if the world was lonely at this moment. However, they got used to it after some time. As the boat slowly moved forward, the three of them became more and more unsightly. Although the boat was stable, it still shook a lot. The three of them had never been on a boat before, and their bodies couldn't withstand the shaking. At first, they could still barely resist it with their soul power. However, after a while, they couldn't help but vomit with a pale face. The Martial Soul Hall didn't consider this. In other words, the people from the Martial Soul Hall didn't go out to sea. Naturally, they wouldn't know about this. Wang Feng stood against the wind and didn't feel much. Ha ha ha, eat some sour fruits. Old Shan looked at Hulaina and the other two and took out the sour fruits he had prepared. It's really your first time out to sea. You'll get used to it. These sour fruits were similar to plums, citrus, and other fruit. They could alleviate the symptoms of seasickness. However, the three of them didn't eat them. After thanking him, they used their soul power to resist. Old Shan didn't mind. He knew that the three of them were wary. I'll eat them. Wang Feng took the sour fruits from Old Shan and ate 2 of them. Suddenly, he missed his previous life. He had lived in this world for 20 years and had adapted to the Douluo world. However, he still saw many things related to his previous life. Occasionally, he would feel nostalgic. Are you thinking of your hometown? Old Shan looked at Wang Feng and suddenly said, yes. Wang Feng wasn't surprised. This Old Shan was also a smart person. He could guess it by eating a few fruit. Old Shan smiled. He was surprised by the other party's frankness. Since you want to go to the Sea God's Island, I'll tell you. I'm sure you've learned about the Sea God's Island before coming here. However, you definitely don't know that it's not easy to get to the Sea God's Island. First of all, there's a group of powerful sea spirit beasts guarding the Sea God's Island. It's hard for outsiders to get close. Among these sea spirit beasts, there's 100,000-year one. If you don't have the confidence to get past this group of sea spirit beasts, I suggest you go back the way you came. Hulaina and the other 2 walked over immediately. 100,000-year soul beast? Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. What's it called? Great White Demon Soul Shark. Old Shan said. It's a powerful sea spirit beast guarding the Sea God's Island. Wang Feng nodded slightly. 100,000-year soul beast was definitely not simple. There's such a powerful sea spirit beast? Evelmoon's scalp tingled. It's fine if it's just one, but it's a group. If it was just 100,000-year soul beast, they wouldn't be afraid with Lord Popediff around. However, if it was a group, it meant that there were many more of these sharks. Even Lord Popediff would have a hard time dealing with them. And in the sea, secondly, Old Shan pointed to the front. I'm not sure about the exact location of the Sea God's Island. However, if you want to get to the Sea God's Island, you'll have to pass through the territories of many sea spirit beasts. Let alone the Sea King's ceremony, even during normal times, these sea spirit beasts will attack if they see any intruders. Some of the older sailors might be able to avoid some of the sea spirit beasts' territories, but they'll be attacked eventually. End of chapter. Chapter 707. The second one that appeared in front of Wang Feng was a crocodile that looked similar to the otaku crocodile. The otaku crocodile was a wind-winged blizzard crocodile. It had wings and was covered in icicle-like armor. This crocodile also had a pair of wings and was covered in ocean blue armor that looked like gemstones. Its eyes were also ferocious. The third one was a whale shark whose entire body was blue. It was also the one with the strongest aura. Wang Feng estimated that it had at least 90,000 years of cultivation. The whale shark was a type of shark, but it had a whale-like body and was close to 80 meters long. At this moment, when Wang Feng stepped into the deep sea, he finally met 3 aquatic soul beasts. Each of these 3 aquatic soul beasts was bound by a sea god's lock. It was different from Wang Feng's lock, which could be directly untied. The sea god's lock on their bodies would directly pierce into their bodies. It was impossible to untie it. It was even possible that the sea god's lock had grown together with the flesh on the 3 aquatic soul beasts' bodies because they were in their bodies all year round. Wang Feng didn't expect to meet these 3 aquatic soul beasts so quickly. In the sea, not to mention that these 3 aquatic soul beasts are already extraordinary, even those 100,000 years old aquatic soul beasts on land can't defeat ordinary 80,000 years old aquatic soul beasts. Wang Feng didn't doubt this point. Just like the soul Douluo of the Sea God's Island, they could defeat titled Douluo on the Sea God's Island. They had to face the huge pressure of the sea. But now, these 3 aquatic soul beasts were one of Wang Feng's tests. He needed to tame these 3 aquatic soul beasts, and at the same time, cut off the 3 chains. If it were other soul masters, they would be in a state of exhaustion after just descending to 5,500 meters. Not to mention taming these 3 aquatic soul beasts, they wouldn't even be able to escape. Just like those 2 purple-clothed sea spirit masters said, this was an impossible matter. But to me, it's not impossible. Wang Feng looked at these 3 aquatic soul beasts with extremely strong auras. At this moment, the 3 aquatic soul beasts suddenly attacked Wang Feng. It could be said that they could smell the alluring aura on Wang Feng's body a long time ago. But why did they only appear now? It was very simple, because they also knew that Wang Feng, who had just reached this position, was in his weakest state. These 3 aquatic soul beasts had lived for many years, so they were naturally very smart. A soul master who could pull 3 sea gods' chains and sink to such a terrifying depth. How strong was he? He was definitely terrifyingly strong. From the moment Wang Feng released the power of the blood traces and the dark angel martial soul at 4,000 meters, Wang Feng's aura had already reached a peak. At that time, the 3 aquatic soul beasts had already planned for this moment. This human was undergoing a test. As long as they waited until he reached the limit of the test, when he was at his weakest, then they would make their move. At the same time, the deeper they sank, the more advantageous it would be for them. The first to rush over was the blood flood dragon. In such a deep sea, this blood flood dragon's speed was also extremely fast. In a few blinks of an eye, it had already reached Wang Feng. Wang Feng was still in the bubble formed by the blue flag. If he retreated, Wang Feng would have to face the pressure of the seawater. Hence, he naturally wouldn't do that. The moment the blood flood dragon attacked, Wang Feng turned the blue flag in his hand and circulated his remaining soul power and spiritual power to the maximum. It was as if a hole had been opened in the sea. The bubble suddenly expanded and engulfed the blood flood dragon. Seawater disappeared around the blood flood dragon, causing its body to be extremely strange. It was as if it had suddenly risen from the ground into a vacuum. The blood flood dragon's body was sluggish for a few seconds, and Wang Feng took this opportunity to dodge its attack. The blood flood dragon's body was covered in densely packed thorns. Its attack power was extremely strong. Given his current state, it wouldn't be easy for him to get entangled by it. Without seawater, the blood flood dragon wasn't used to it. Its abilities were greatly reduced, and it didn't have any advantage in the sea. However, its abilities were still there. At the same time, the other 2 aquatic soul beasts also realized that something was amiss. They didn't charge towards Wang Feng immediately. Instead, they roared a few times. At this moment, the whale shark abruptly opened its bloody mouth. A ray of light gathered in its mouth. However, it didn't shoot out. Instead, it produced a terrifying suction force. Endless seawater surged into the whale shark's mouth. This naturally included Wang Feng. The seawater carried Wang Feng and surged into the whale shark's mouth at an extremely fast speed. Even a titled Douluo would find it hard to resist such a terrifying suction force in the sea. Wang Feng frowned and kicked forward. The star cannon in his leg bone combined with the star core to form an intense ray of light. He instantly blasted it into the whale shark's mouth. However, the star cannon became a lot dimmer under the pressure of the seawater. Although it was strengthened by the star core, it was still a lot weaker. This was the weakness of soul masters on land in the sea. If they were on land, this attack would be enough to severely injure the whale shark. However, the star cannon blasted into the whale shark's mouth. It only caused the whale shark's lower abdomen to light up. It seemed like an explosion had occurred inside. The star cannon should have injured the whale shark. However, its injuries weren't serious. Perhaps to this whale shark, it was equivalent to a normal person eating a devil chili. Although it was very uncomfortable, it wasn't fatal. The suction force from the whale shark's mouth didn't decrease. Instead, it became stronger. It was obvious that it was even angrier. At the same time, Wang Feng's torso suddenly lit up. His spirit seal soul skill turned into a ray of ice-colored profound light and bombarded the whale shark's body. However, before the attack could land, the blood-colored flood dragon suddenly spat out a ball of blood. It exploded in front of the whale shark and formed a blood-colored wall of water. The ice-colored profound light landed on the wall of water and instantly froze into an ice wall. It didn't attack the whale shark. At the same time, the sea crocodile that looked like the otaku crocodile slammed into the ice wall. It destroyed the ice wall and broke Wang Feng's spirit seal soul skill. The three sea soul beasts seemed to be incomparably experienced. It couldn't be said that they had a tacit understanding, but because their target was Wang Feng at this moment, they naturally had to cooperate. Cunning and treacherous. His spirit seal soul skill being broken caused Wang Feng to frown slightly. He didn't have a foothold in the sea, so it was impossible for him to exert the strength that he had on land. Coupled with the fact that he was indeed weak at this moment. He'd originally wanted to use his spirit seal soul skill to freeze the three soul beasts, then use siphon to absorb the soul power of the three soul beasts to swiftly replenish himself. He never expected that these three soul beasts would be so experienced and didn't even give him a chance to attack. As he got closer and closer to the whale shark's bloody mouth, Wang Feng's gaze went slightly cold. The Netherism flying sword's resistance in this 5,000 m of seawater was too great, and its attack power and speed would drop greatly. Even if Wang Feng's spiritual power had reached an extremely formidable level now. But in the sea it was still very easy to dodge. Moreover, he couldn't execute the 7 annihilation sword technique. Relying solely on the domain of sin wasn't enough to affect these three sea soul beasts. It had to be said that these three beasts had picked a really good time to attack. End of this chapter. Chapter 708. Once you're attacked by those aquatic soul beasts, there's almost no chance of survival. This is the most dangerous situation in the ocean. Now that the Sea King's ceremony is happening, many aquatic soul beasts will surface. Although we can predict their movements, it also means that you can avoid them. These aquatic soul beasts cover a huge area. They'll occupy all the safe sea routes. If you want to go to the Sea God's Island, you'll definitely invade the territories of these aquatic soul beasts. The Purple Pearl Pirates are located on a small island. They have a special sea route, but it's also very dangerous. Everyone listened carefully. After that, Old Shan told Wang Feng and the rest about the territories of some stronger aquatic soul beasts. After listening to Old Shan, Wang Feng suddenly missed Cowardly Kuan. If Cowardly Kuan was released, these weak aquatic soul beasts would all retreat. Old Shan, I heard from the middle-aged sailor that the Sea King's ceremony is because a aquatic soul master killed a aquatic soul beast. Does that aquatic soul master and aquatic soul beast have a name? Old Shan's words made Hulaina and the rest trust him a little, and they became more familiar with him. Ha ha ha! When Old Shan heard this, he laughed and said, "Those are just fabricated legends. That guy is too weak, so he doesn't know much. Let me tell you, the reason for the Sea King's ceremony is because there's an Overlord-class soul beast in the depths of the ocean. Every year during this season, it will take action and startle many soul beasts in the ocean. These soul beasts have no choice but to surface to avoid provoking this Overlord-class soul beast. But if you're serious, there's a story about this back then. But in the end, this Overlord-class soul beast didn't die, and that aquatic soul master died. Even a titled Douluo can't defeat such an Overlord-class soul beast in the ocean." After hearing this, Hulaina and the rest were enlightened. Wang Feng also laughed. He didn't take it seriously. So when he heard Old Shan's words, he wasn't too surprised. After that, they listened to Old Shan talk about various things that happened in the ocean, and it was an eye-opener. They also learned that the Overlord-class soul beast was called the deep-sea demon whale. Wang Feng had heard of this soul beast before. Even if he didn't read the story, he had heard of it because it was too famous. A million-year soul beast. If one were to judge a soul beast based on its age and cultivation, 100,000-year soul beast would be equivalent to a titled Douluo. 100,000 years was only one level? A million years was equivalent to level 100? A soul beast that was infinitely close to becoming a god? However, the difference between their actual combat strength was like heaven and earth. If he were to encounter a soul beast of that level, Wang Feng felt that he would have no choice but to run. Normal titled Douluo would probably be able to defeat such soul beasts in a few moves. After chatting for so long, the night gradually darkened, and the first day passed peacefully. On the second day, Wang Feng saw many soul beasts on the surface of the sea. Most of them were small sea soul beasts. Elder Shan seemed to be very experienced as he managed to avoid many sea spirit beasts. After 3 to 4 days, he still hadn't reached his destination. This distance was really far. Even if Wang Feng used his flying sword to carry the 3 of them, he would not be able to fly for such a long time. "Hey, isn't that Hyder's ship? I didn't expect him to go out to sea too." At this moment, Elder Shan seemed to have caught sight of a ship in the distance. He was a little surprised. Wang Feng looked over and realized that Elder Shan was talking about a very large ship. It was at least 3 times bigger than this ship. With Wang Feng's eyesight, he could see some people on the ship. "Acquaintances. Do you know that ship?" Wang Feng asked. "You can say that." Elder Shan shook his head. "Hyder is different from me. I'm just a middleman. However, this guy is a real pirate. His strength is average, but he is more ruthless. He likes to pretend to be a merchant ship. After he deceives people, he will kidnap soul masters from the continent. From the looks of it, the people on that ship are just like you. They want to go to see God's island. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone out to sea. However, the place they are going doesn't seem right." Elder Shan looked in the direction of the large ship. His eyes flashed. "Hyder is crazy. He wants to go to that place. What's wrong? Where are they going?" Wang Feng frowned slightly. Could this be the plot of the original work? Didn't I tell you about that overlord before? Old Shan looked around and said, "Hyder's position is to go to the core territory of the overlord of the sea. If he goes there, he will definitely incur the wrath of the overlord of the sea. It's practically suicide." Wang Feng's eyes flashed. Could it be that this was the plot of the original novel? Why did they come into contact with the demon whale so quickly? How did they survive? Wang Feng couldn't help but think. A million-year soul beast can kill them with a sneeze. Even if Little 3 and the others can fight a titled Douluo, they are no match for the demon whale in the sea. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat when he thought of this. Heh, interesting. Wang Feng thought for a moment. I'll go take a look. This place isn't close to the Purple Pearl Island, right? Not close. You can reach it in about 4 to 6 hours. Elder Shan looked at Wang Feng. Esteemed guest, let me give you a piece of advice. That overlord of the sea won't let anyone get close to it. Wang Feng didn't say anything. At this moment, Hu Laina walked over and said, Teacher, we don't have to care about this, right? However, Wang Feng said calmly, I'm a little curious about this overlord of the sea. Go to the Purple Pearl Island with him first. If there is a situation, send a signal and I will appear immediately. Since we can go out to sea, it will be a pity if we can't see this overlord of the sea. The three of them didn't say anything. His Holiness the Pope's personality was like this. As proud and aloof as he was, he truly did not fear the heavens and earth. A few days ago, when he heard old Shan talk about the situation of this overlord of the sea, he probably wanted to go and meet him. It was only because he had to protect the three of them that he didn't move. Thinking of this, Hu Laina whispered, Teacher, please be careful. Wang Feng waved his hand and released the weights on their bodies. He turned into a long sword and flew away. A glint flashed in old Shan's eyes when he saw this. It seems that your teacher is not simple. I heard that there is a sword Douluo on the continent. His martial soul is the 7 kills sword. Could it be that your teacher is the sword Douluo? Judging from his voice, he is very young. The three of them snorted when they heard this. End of chapter. Chapter 709. The sword Douluo is no match for teacher. Evil Moon glanced at Old Shan and smiled. Old Shan, you don't have to trick us. Just tell us to go to Purple Pearl Island. The three of them were not stupid. Old Shan was obviously trying to find out more about them. This guy is not simple. However, even if he was a soul sage, the three of them were not afraid of a soul Douluo. They could even escape from an ordinary titled Dalu. Furthermore, the three of them felt extremely refreshed after the weight was lifted. They could feel their strength increasing exponentially. Old Shan smiled and did not answer. Sea Demon. Tang San looked at the gloomy sky outside and felt uneasy. They had been out at sea for a few days. According to the map drawn by Grandmaster, the journey was relatively peaceful. Although they heard about the Sea King's ceremony when they boarded the ships at the port, most of the ships did not go out to sea. However, this was not a problem for them. They found a ship that dared to go out to sea. After some negotiations and transactions, they successfully set out to sea. However, the 9 of them were confused when they left the sea. It was difficult to distinguish north from south in the sea. They could only give the map to Captain Hyder and let him take them to Sea Demon Island. However, Tang San felt that there was something wrong with Captain Hyder yesterday. As expected, they pretended to be drugged and the pirates revealed their true colors. They wanted to kidnap them. However, how strong were the 9 of them? After killing a few of the pirates, they forced Heidel to lead them to the Sea God's Island according to the map. However, the more they walked, the more fearful they became. His life is in our hands. I don't think he dares to do anything. Tang San shook his head. However, at this moment, dark clouds suddenly thickened in the distant sky. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. A storm suddenly came. Tang San walked out of the cabin and looked outside. His face suddenly became gloomy. In the distant sea there was a terrifying whirlpool. It was like a heavenly eye shining brightly. What's that? Although it was very far away, Tang San felt his heart skip a beat. He suddenly felt an intense sense of danger. At this moment the other 7 people walked out of their rooms. They were shocked when they saw the scene in the distance. In the most terrifying part of the sky, countless demonic sea beasts appeared. On the surface of the sea, countless demonic sea beasts jumped as if they were alarmed by something. Most of the demonic sea beasts that emerged from the sea were very strong. Some of them were very large, reaching 20 to 30 meters in size. The demonic sea beasts in the sky were very rare amphibious demonic sea beasts. They were a type of sea spirit beast that resembled seagulls. Tang San had heard about them from the Grandmaster. Although he knew that the number of demonic beasts on the sea would increase during the Sea King's ceremony, it seemed that after entering this place, all the demonic sea beasts became violent and their numbers increased several times. All of a sudden, the sea devil stopped moving. Frantic tearing sounds came from the bottom of the ship. When they saw this, apart from Xiao Wu, a wisp of astonishment appeared on their faces. It was a demonic sea beast attack. Not to mention the front, just the current situation was already extremely dangerous. How could this be? Dai Mubai rushed into the cabin of the ship and grabbed Captain Heidel. He grabbed him by the neck and said coldly, "What the hell is going on? Where have you taken us? Wasn't yesterday's lesson enough?" Captain Heidel's face turned red, but he pretended not to know anything. "What do you mean, what's going on? Didn't I follow the sea map you gave me and lead the way?" After he finished speaking, he coughed a few times. "Bullsh *T, this place is so dangerous. We're surrounded by demonic sea beasts." Oscar frowned and said, "What are you trying to do? You brought us here. Do you think you can leave here alive?" Heidel said, "This is the Sea King's ceremony. There are many demonic sea beasts on the sea. Isn't it normal to be surrounded? You guys are so strong. Just beat these demonic sea beasts away. What are you afraid of?" Tang San glanced at him coldly and said, "We've been out at sea for the past few days. Although we've encountered some demonic sea beasts, there aren't as many of them as there are here. What is this place? If you don't tell me, Mubai will throw you into the sea to feed these demonic sea beasts." Dai Mubai nodded. He didn't have a good impression of these pirates. If they were any other soul master, they would have been drugged yesterday. Ha 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 ha! At this moment, Heidel laughed loudly. "It's okay, whatever. I don't want to live anyway. Forget it, I'll tell you. This place is a special sea. Do you know why there aren't any ships out at sea during the Sea King's ceremony? It's because 100,000-year overlord of the sea will appear in this sea. This beast will change its territory every year. Countless demonic sea beasts will emerge from the bottom of the sea and float on the sea surface to avoid provoking this overlord of the sea. Now, not only are you surrounded by countless demonic sea beasts, you've also barged into the territory of this deep-sea overlord. In the sea, even 10 titled Douluo can't beat this beast. You can't run away." Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. Heidel laughed maniacally. "Are you curious? Why would I use such a suicidal method to deal with you? Because you killed my only son yesterday. Maybe to you, he was just a pirate you casually killed." Hearing this, everyone's expression darkened again. Tang San shook his head. No one would have expected something like this. "Let him fend for himself," Tang San said. Dai Mubai kicked Heidel away. His expression was gloomy as he looked at the sea of demonic sea beasts in the sky. At this time, the sea devil suddenly trembled and sank. Clearly, it had been bitten by the demonic sea beasts below. "Oscar!" Tang San shouted. Oscar passed the mushroom sausage and Shin Lingqi's beer to the rest of the team. "Above, watch out for the demonic sea beasts in the sky." As soon as he finished speaking, Tang San put Xiao Wu into his interspatial pouch. He ate the mushroom sausage and flew up. At the same time, the ocean devil also sank instantly. Countless demonic sea beasts were roaring below. "Retreat!" The 8 of them maintained their formation and retreated. However, they realized that they couldn't move forward no matter how hard they flapped their wings. It was as if their soul power had been filled with lead. It was extremely heavy. An invisible force seemed to have enveloped the entire sea region. Seeing this, everyone's heart sank. "It's a territory." Tang San gritted his teeth and looked at the terrifying whirlpool in the distance. "Roar!" A deep roar resounded from the huge whirlpool, which seemed to pierce through the heavens and earth. Countless demonic sea beasts below. The weaker ones were instantly smashed into pieces. Those who were slightly stronger were frantically scattering in all directions. The demonic sea beasts in the sky didn't land. Instead, they screeched. End of chapter. Chapter 7:10. Immediately afterward, everyone saw an extremely terrifying scene. A whale that was at least hundreds of meters long slowly emerged from the sea, stirring up monstrous waves. The demon whale was blue in color, and there were countless strange patterns on its body. It looked like a mountain range, and its huge eyes were even bigger than the noon sun. However, the other eye was pitch black, and it was so empty that it made people feel suffocated. It was emitting a faint light. A low roar shook the sky, and a dark blue light was emitted from this demonic whale, instantly covering this sea area. Terrifying waves surged in the sea, making violent waves, but it seemed to be the background music of this demonic whale's roar. At this moment, the 8 people's minds were blank, as if they couldn't hear anything. It seemed that the demonic whale thought that these puny humans dared to intrude into its territory? Has the world changed? Far away, Wang Feng, who was on the flying sword, suddenly staggered and looked into the distance, his eyes shining. This is the aura of a million-year soul beast? Even from so far away, Wang Feng could feel a suffocating aura. Can Xiao San and the others escape? Wang Fengxin couldn't help but have a big question mark in his mind. A million-year soul beast is too terrifying. Even De Ming and Erming would be beaten up. It was probably also a matter of facing different levels. Wang Feng continued to fly into the distance with deep doubts. At the same time, the demonic whale shook gently in the sea. In an instant, the seawater was instantly shaken up, and a tsunami waterfall hundreds of meters high, like a tornado, attacked the 8 people. There were even countless corpses of demonic sea beasts, wrapped in blood. This attack felt like a soft sneeze from the demon whale. The boundless power of the sea instantly jolted Tang San awake. 8 in 1. Tang San roared, instantly waking the other 7 people. Quick! After saying that, Tang San suddenly released the vast sea universe cover. The next moment, the other 7 people instantly linked their soul power and transferred it to Tang San, who was the strongest. In an instant, the light of the vast sea universe cover was incomparably dazzling. At the same time, an intense golden light emerged from Tang San's body, enveloping the 7 people. It was Tang San's 6th soul skill, invincible golden body. Almost as soon as they were ready, the huge tsunami came crashing down on them from the sky. The devilish whale looked at the light emanating from the vast sea cosmic shroud, and it suddenly let loose another violent cry. There was a hint of fear in its eyes, but more than that, there was fury in its eyes. Without any hesitation, the huge vortex that Tang San saw on its huge back was really produced by the back of this demonic whale. The icy blue light was like a laser, rapidly condensing. The vortex was at least 20 meters in diameter, and the light was also close to 10 meters in diameter. Rumble! In the instant that the tsunami crashed into the vast sea cosmic barrier, the barrier was instantly shattered. Everyone's expression changed. They only felt a boundless pressure from the tsunami, causing their 5 senses to instantly disappear. Although no one suffered any injuries due to the state of the invincible golden body, the violent shock wave instantly sent 8 people flying. Although the invincible golden body could withstand the damage, it couldn't withstand the violent shock wave brought about by this monstrous tsunami. At this moment, Tang San and the others didn't realize that the demonic whale was suddenly enraged and directly released a second attack. The icy blue light directly blasted towards Tang San, who had the vast sea cosmic shroud. The light, which was close to 10 meters in diameter, instantly engulfed Tang San. The rest of the people were sent flying. They were further away, but they were still shaken by the aftershock of the light and spat out blood. The endless light and the aftershock of the light also shattered countless demonic sea beasts. The space that was already strengthened by the domain almost instantly made everyone lose consciousness. It was too strong. It was as if this wasn't something that humans could resist at all. The 8 of them were already strong enough, but they didn't even have the strength to fight back in the face of this demonic whale. Tang San was blasted out again, and his face was pale. He used his invincible golden body again to barely resist this attack. However, he felt that his invincible golden body couldn't withstand it because he felt that his invincible golden body was about to shatter just now. However, at this moment, the demonic whale was even more enraged. The second light condensed in the huge vortex on its back again, and at the same time, its body shook again, and the endless tsunami attacked everyone again. Seeing this, Tang San looked at his teammates who were scattered behind him, and a trace of desperation flashed in his eyes. He couldn't let this beast use it again. The 8 spider spears on his back appeared, and the scorching power of the 4 soul bones continuously fused and gathered. In the next moment, Tang San disappeared on the spot. Teleportation. Tang San continuously teleported and flashed, and his body was shining with golden light as he landed on the demonic whale. Boom! The intense blue light shone on the ground again, and the endless tsunami madly blasted towards Tang San and the other 7 people who fell from mid-air. Tang San, who was bombarded by the blue light, had just landed on the back of the demonic whale when he felt his consciousness shake, and then he saw his 7 teammates being drowned by the tsunami. No! Tang San's eyes were about to pop out and he let out a deafening roar. The 8 spider spears were like 8 sharp spikes, and they pierced into the center of the huge vortex. Beast Tang San's eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, he used his invincible golden body to forcefully pierce the back of the huge vortex on the demonic whale's back. He knew that it would be difficult for his teammates to survive, but even so, he wanted to take this last chance to see if he could stop this beast. Kill? That's impossible. It's impossible to kill it. On the other side, at the moment when the tsunami hit the 7 people, a black light shield suddenly enveloped them. The tsunami hit the black light shield, but it didn't immediately shatter it. It was only when the intense blue light rushed over that the black light shield was instantly smashed into pieces. However, it didn't immediately attack the 7 people. A blood-red shadow appeared from the clouds, and the chains formed by the mysterious underworld spikes immediately caught the 7 people who had already fainted. Wang Feng's expression was extremely cold as he watched this scene. He had continuously teleported over, but he didn't expect the situation to be worse than he had imagined. The 7 people were now unconscious, and the situation wasn't optimistic. There weren't any demonic sea beasts around, and even if there were, they were all dead. Is this a million-year soul beast? Wang Feng's eyes flashed as he looked at the deep-sea demonic whale. Little 3 is really crazy. The invincible golden body only lasts for 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, won't they turn into ashes? Wang Feng glanced at the 7 people who had fainted, and immediately placed them on the huge wooden planks floating on the sea. These wooden planks were formed after the sea devil was shattered. There were many corpses of demonic sea beasts floating around, and many soul rings were shining. After using the golden lotus to heal the 7 people, Wang Feng directly rushed towards the demonic sea beasts in the distance. End of chapter. Chapter 711. At this moment, Tang San's invincible golden body disappeared. The scarlet-red 8 spider spear seemed to have absorbed enough energy, and it exuded a strange and powerful color. However, it was instantly crushed by the blue light. The demon whale let out a low roar. Although the pain of being pierced by the 8 spider spears was like being bitten by a mosquito, it still offended its dignity. It wanted to destroy all of them. At this moment, Tang San had already fainted after absorbing a huge amount of energy through the 8-spider spear. Xiao Wu's consciousness was still in his 6th soul ring, and she couldn't wake him up. At this moment, a black light barrier fell on Tang San's body from afar. The demon whale's body jerked, and it sent Tang San flying. However, the black barrier blocked it. Although it shattered in an instant, it prevented the demonic whale from killing Tang San immediately. The demon whale looked at the human figure that suddenly appeared in midair, and a murderous intent flashed across its eyes. It was the overlord of the deep-sea demon whales, and it had roamed the sea for many years. However, its dignity was being trampled on by humans again and again? This was unforgivable. Wang Feng looked at the demon whale calmly. This beast was 2 to 3 times bigger than the cowardly Kuan. The cowardly Kuan was already in its growth stage, and it was very difficult for it to grow by 10 meters. It was at least 200 meters long. It looked like a small island. Let's save Xiao San first. I'll forget about fighting. Wang Feng focused his gaze and sensed the strength of the demon whale's domain. It caused him to move very slowly in this red sky. Wang Feng didn't dare to imagine how strong a million-year soul beast was. Even those rank 99 transcendent Douluo wouldn't be able to defeat him. This monster was much stronger than the Tianluo beast. However, the Tianluo beast was immune to both defenses. However, it was almost impossible to defeat such a powerful being in the sea. Wang Feng's gaze turned cold as he sensed the demon whale locking onto him, and his spiritual power surged. He looked at Tang San, who had been sent flying in midair. Wang Feng closed his eyes. Before he came, he had already enhanced himself with all 4 forms of the chaotic green lotus, just in case. The next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. His pupils flashed with endless black light. 7 pairs of black light wings were 2 meters long. Combined with the soul-devouring blood wings, they formed 8 pairs of extremely dazzling wings. 7 blood runes lit up on Wang Feng's body. A monstrous aura condensed and rose from Wang Feng's body. Blood marks power plus Dark Angel's possession, in addition to Wang Feng's previous buffs. This was Wang Feng's most complete chain of power. Wang Feng didn't even use the cauldron of heaven and earth's rainbow divine light to weaken this demonic whale. Because it was unlikely. It was impossible for the rainbow divine light to degenerate a million-year soul beast. Even if it was possible, it would only last for an instant, which would be a waste of time. His soul power had reached rank 70, and all his attributes had increased by at least 30 times. Wang Feng didn't use the innate 5-element flags either. Instead, the soul bones on Wang Feng's body shone with an intense radiance as boundless energy gathered on Wang Feng's body. His heart even emitted a ray of light that was as bright as the sun. This was a state where one's body had reached its limit. Even Wang Feng's body would not be able to withstand such a terrifying increase for a long time. The meteoric tears energy surged out from his heart. After Wang Feng left the extreme north, he went to the capital of massacres and became a spy for the martial spirit hall. He had never used all his strength again, because there was no chance at all. Right now, Wang Feng had no choice but to use it. He couldn't comprehend the secret of the dual gods for now. He couldn't use both his martial souls and soul skills at the same time. The Dark Angel's martial soul could only be possessed. Therefore, Panga's axe. Wang Feng's deep roar reverberated across the land like a demon from the abyss. The ordinary-looking Panga's axe appeared in Wang Feng's hand. In an instant, it solidified. Boom! In the next moment, an intense beam of light rose up from Wang Feng's body. Under such a terrifying force, Wang Feng felt the terrifying energy undulations from the Panga's axe once again. Even though he hadn't used it for a long time, Wang Feng knew that he could withstand more of the Panga's axe's power as he became stronger. The moment this pillar of light shot into the clouds, the entire sea seemed to tremble. The moment Wang Feng held the ancient axe, an even more powerful aura rose from his body. His clothes were melted by the pillar of light at this moment, revealing his muscular body. The 7 blood tattoos were like 7 huge black dragons. They circled Wang Feng's limbs and finally gathered at his heart. The sea started to roll and shake. The dark clouds were also pierced by this pillar of light. The demonic whale let out a fierce cry. It seemed to be shocked that this human could suddenly erupt with such power. The ancient axe, which was shining with supreme light, made it feel a trace of fear. It wasn't a power that a human could use. At this moment, Wang Feng felt the boiling power of the Panga's axe, which almost split the sky, but his heart was calm. This wasn't the first time he had used the Panga's axe. At this moment, his entire body was bathed in light. The pillar of light on his body could be seen clearly even from hundreds of miles away. It was truly connecting the heavens and the earth. Under this pillar of light, even the demonic whale's domain had no effect on him. It didn't seem to be weakened by any domain. The Panga's axe in his hand was swallowing and emitting terrifying light. Wang Feng's gaze fell on Tang San. The next moment, Wang Feng suddenly jumped up high, as if he was climbing up the sky. Finally, he slashed down. His right hand, which was holding the Panga's axe, was flowing with countless blood rays. The power was condensed to the extreme. Wang Feng found that when his strength increased, the power of the Panga's axe also increased at the same time. The power of the axe was greater, and the damage it caused was still there. Fortunately, with Wang Feng's current body, he could completely withstand it. At this moment, it seemed to feel that Wang Feng's aura and strength were getting stronger. The demonic whale let out an even more violent roar. The huge whirlpool on its back condensed a huge pillar of light with a diameter of only 20 meters. Its huge body shook the sea and set off endless waves. A towering tsunami water curtain, which was hundreds of meters high, rose in all directions. It condensed into a huge sea pressure and surrounded the center. It wanted to crush this powerful and somewhat frightening human into powder in an instant. At this moment, "Eat my axe." The pillar of light climbed to the top along with Wang Feng's aura. The entire space seemed to be frozen. His whole body seemed to have climbed up to the sky. Then, with a force that could split the sky, he directly slashed the huge blue pillar of light with his axe. P.S. 10 chapters, please vote and subscribe. End of this chapter. Chapter 7:12. The pillar of light lit up the entire sky. Wang Feng swung his axe at the blue light released by the demonic whale. The axe blade seemed to be able to destroy the void. Rings of blade chi rippled as it sliced the huge blue light into two. The blue light, which was powerful enough to destroy a mountain, was sliced into two just like that. If Tang San and the rest were still awake, they would have been stunned. Due to the force of the strike, Wang Feng's entire body was immersed in the destructive blue light. The terrifying pillar of light around his body seemed very small compared to the blue light, which was almost 20 meters thick. However, it prevented Wang Feng from being corroded by the blue light. He swung his axe at the demonic whale's attack. The axe blade was flowing with boundless energy as it slashed the demonic whale's back. Suddenly, the demonic whale let out a painful and furious roar. However, the patterns on its body started to light up. This was a sign that it was angry. A visible wound that was a few meters long appeared on the demonic whale's back. Perhaps it was nothing compared to the demonic whale's entire body. However, it was still a real injury to the demonic whale. Isn't it too strong? Wang Feng's pitch-black pupils reflected the several-meter-long wound. What's going on? My axe only managed to leave such a wound? The demonic whale was more than 200 meters long. A wound that was more than 10 meters long was equivalent to a small wound on his body. Even a rank 97 titled Douluo wouldn't be able to withstand his axe. However, he only managed to leave a small wound on the demonic whale's body? 1,000,000-year soul beast is still stronger than I expected. Wang Feng furrowed his brow. In fact, his wound was already very exaggerated. Earlier, Tang San's 8-spider spear barely managed to stab the demonic whale. At this moment, the whirlpool on the demonic whale's back started to spin again. A streak of purple light started to shake from the demonic whale's body. This streak of purple light contained an extremely destructive aura. "Are you going crazy?" Wang Feng laughed. "I'm not that stupid. I can't be bothered to fight with you now." After he finished speaking, the 7 pairs of black wings on his back gently unfurled. His speed was even faster than the pure agility-type soul masters like Bai He. Wang Feng flew directly to Tang San's side and trapped him with the Xianming spike. With a thought, he wanted to control the Xianming spike to place Tang San on a board far away. At the same time, Wang Feng directly slashed his axe twice at the 100-meter-high tsunami wall in the distance. When it was chopped out, it was only a few meters long, but when it fell, it was already tens of meters long. A 10-meter-long hole appeared in the wall of water, and the mysterious underworld spike sent Tang San out. This tsunami contained extremely strong water pressure. If Tang San rushed out like this, even with his body, he would be crushed in an instant. The mysterious underworld spike would also be shattered. After sending Tang San away, the second terrifying attack of the demonic whale was directed at Wang Feng. The purple vortex formed a ray of light that swallowed everything. The moment Wang Feng chopped down with the axe, it submerged Wang Feng. Countless streaks of blood started to appear on Wang Feng's skin, leaving countless web-like wounds. Even the pillar of light formed by the Pangu axe couldn't make Wang Feng completely immune to damage. It was as if he was in a purple world, and his entire body was being dismembered. However, the meteoric tear in the center of his heart played a huge role in this moment. Countless amounts of energy flowed through Wang Feng's body, quickly repairing his damaged body. Wang Feng's expression didn't change, and his heart was extremely calm. Even if he was in pain, he felt that it wasn't as intense as the pain he felt when Hong Lian tempered his body. The Pangu axe chopped down 10 times in a row, and the strength of each chop was far greater than the previous one. Every chop was able to scatter the purple vortex a little. When the 10th chop was done, a hole was created in the purple vortex. He immediately retracted the Pangu axe and used the soul-slaying spear to release the soul-devouring blood wings. He rushed out of the hole, but his entire body was covered in blood. Bye-bye. A strange light flashed in Wang Feng's eyes. The blood wings on his back flapped and emitted a dazzling blood-red light. This was the prelude to teleportation. He wasn't confident that he could really kill this nearly million-year-old soul beast. That was impossible. His original purpose was to let Tang San and the others leave here safely and lure the demon whale away. But at this moment, the demon whale sensed Wang Feng's intention and suddenly let out a fierce cry. The huge eyeball that was like the sun emitted a blue beam of light, which made the whole domain seem to be imprisoned and interrupted Wang Feng's teleportation in an instant. Wang Feng's face darkened slightly, and then he quickly fled in another direction. This beast's domain seems to be something. It doesn't seem to have many skills, but each of them is extremely fatal to the enemy. Especially to the enemies in the sky. Thinking of this, Wang Feng couldn't help but wonder, how did Tang San and the others escape in the original work? This demon whale can't escape even if it uses a little bit of strength, right? Unless it's a god. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. With the help of a god, Tang San and the others can escape. Otherwise, all of them will die. Wang Feng's figure flashed and quickly left in the distance, away from Tang San and the others. The demon whale behind him chased after Wang Feng angrily. Its speed in the sea was faster than Tang San's. But seeing that the demon whale was lured away by him, Wang Fengxin was relieved. The demon whale's domain could imprison him, but Wang Feng was not helpless. On the contrary, he did this to give the demon whale an illusion that he couldn't escape, so that the demon whale would chase him away from the sea. The more than 10 axes just now allowed Wang Feng to split the demon whale's real attack, but the demon whale was careless at the beginning and was hit by Wang Feng's axes, so it suffered some injuries. At this moment, after Wang Feng lured the demon whale away, Tang San landed on the deck floating on the sea. At this time, the vast sea cosmic shield that had been withdrawn from his body suddenly emitted a violent halo and a wisp of sea blue aura. Then, countless halos gathered in midair. The sea blue mist merged into the halos and formed a human-shaped phantom. The phantom looked in the direction that the demon whale chased, and a strange expression appeared on its face. Interesting, interesting. After more than 20,000 years, such a person actually appeared in the mortal world. A rank 70 soul master can fight with a deep-sea demon whale that has completed its dragonization. Has the era in the mortal world changed? The phantom's voice was very old, and there was a hint of doubt in his tone. Then, he looked at Tang San and the other 7 figures. Finally, his eyes fell on Tang San, and he let out a long sigh. I hope this child won't let me down. But that human boy is really strange. It seems that I have to discuss with those old guys. Chapter 7:13. After he finished speaking, he turned into a streak of blue light and merged into the vast sea cosmic shield. The vast sea cosmic shield quickly turned into a huge triangular object that enveloped the 7 of them. A long tail of blue flames dragged behind it as it drifted into the distance. Wang Feng didn't know that this would happen after he lured the deep-sea demon whale away. He was now frantically trying to escape. The deep-sea demon whale was too fast in the sea. Furthermore, its aura was very strong. Coupled with the effect of its domain, it was difficult for Wang Feng to escape. Every time Wang Feng wanted to use instant shift to escape, the demonic whale's eyes would emit an intense blue light that would interrupt Wang Feng. The demonic whale's blue light was a spiritual skill that could forcefully lock onto someone. It was extremely rare. Hence, it was able to interrupt Wang Feng's instant shift. Most importantly, it was strengthened by the demonic whale's domain. However, Wang Feng did not intend to teleport away. He waited until he was a certain distance away. Wang Feng directly used the green lotus flag to break through the demonic whale's domain. However, the demonic whale was too strong. The green lotus flag's light could only maintain a 10-meter radius around Wang Feng. It couldn't completely negate the demonic whale's domain. After that, he quickly switched to his soul-devouring blood wings and used instant shift. Before the demonic whale's domain could cover him again, he suddenly left. Without the domain, the demonic whale's blue light only shook Wang Feng's spirit. It didn't interrupt Wang Feng's instant shift. Wang Feng disappeared from where he was and reappeared in the clouds tens of thousands of meters away. The soul-devouring blood wings was a soul skill that had been strengthened. Back then, the system had given him a 100,000-year soul ring as a reward for his 4th soul ring, which allowed him to teleport extremely far away. The demonic whale wouldn't be able to catch up to him in a short period of time. Cough cough, Wang Feng coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood. He hurriedly swallowed it back. These are all treasures. I can't spit blood out. This deep-sea demon whale is the strongest being I've seen so far. Wang Feng was excited. I haven't fought Bibidon before, but she can't defeat this beast in the sea now. It seems like there are many strong beings in this world. When I reach rank 80, I should be able to defeat it. It's not bad that I escaped. Previously, Wang Feng had been a spy. After coming out of the extreme north, Wang Feng had never tested his true strength. Now that he had fought with this demon whale, Wang Feng had a clearer understanding of himself. Although he was very strong, he was still quite a distance away from these levels. The Pangu axe was the only guarantee that Wang Feng was able to surpass so many levels by relying on pure strength. There was no doubt that the 6 forms of the chaotic green lotus were very powerful. However, due to the huge difference in soul power, it was very difficult for it to be effective against soul beasts like the demon whale for a long time. It would also consume a huge amount of soul power. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion. The empty soul force in his body made Wang Feng feel extremely fatigued. Let's go to the Purple Pearl Island first and meet up with Hulaina and the others. I don't know how far he ran. Wang Fengxin's mind moved, and the Xianming spike reformed into a new flying sword, carrying Wang Feng into the distance. Right now, his soul power was almost depleted, and the soul power stored in the Black Lotus was almost used up. However, he still had a lot of spiritual power. He could only conserve his soul power and use the Xianming flying sword to bring him back. However, what made Wang Feng happy was that he could faintly feel the power of the meteoric tear surging out again because of the battle just now. Furthermore, he could feel that the power that surged out from the meteoric tear, in addition to his entire body, had also surged into the soul bones all over his body. This caused the soul bones to have more subtle connections. It seemed to be undergoing a change and fusion. Could it be that my soul bones are starting to form a special fusion? Something like a soul-bone fusion skill? Wang Fengxin's mind moved. Little Three's soul bones were gradually fusing under the influence of the external soul bone and the 100,000-year soul bone. Furthermore, when Wang Feng rescued Tang San earlier, he sensed a little and realized that the soul bones in Tang San's body were fusing into one. It was as if they were being modified and fused by a special force. However, the soul bones in his body were all 100,000-year, and it was very difficult for them to fuse. He didn't expect them to fuse under the power of the meteoric tear. According to Wang Feng's guess, the 6 soul bones in his body should fuse into true godly equipment in the end, right? He could feel that the 4 soul bones in his body were faintly more connected. It was also much smoother to use. Even the flying sword formed by the mysterious underworld spike had become much stronger. This is the biggest gain from this battle. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Apart from this, Wang Feng also felt that the power of the Pangu axe was a little more special. Wang Feng hadn't given the Pangu axe a soul ring yet. After the trip to the Sea God's Island, his strength should increase to over rank 70. He could try to add a soul ring to the Pangu axe. The cultivation of the Dark Angel was a little special. Wang Feng hadn't thought of adding a soul ring to the Dark Angel for the time being. The power of the blood traces and the original Sin domain were enough. However, logically speaking, the chaotic green lotus would awaken its martial soul true body at rank 70. He didn't know what the effects of the chaotic green lotus martial soul true body would be. It should be enough to use both forms, right? As long as he could use both forms of the chaotic green lotus, it would be of great help to Wang Feng in battle. Everything else aside, Wang Feng could use the Black Lotus to envelop himself and his other martial soul to maintain an undefeatable position. If he could use both forms just now, Wang Feng wouldn't have been hurt even if he used the Black Lotus light barrier. He could even break through the demonic whale's attack. He wouldn't have had to flee so pathetically. He could also use the cloud flag to break through the demonic whale's domain without being hurt at all. Although the cloud flag could break through the demonic whale's defenses, it would disappear if he changed to another form. The demonic whale's domain would be attached to him again. After this round of thinking, Wang Feng's future path became clearer. While Wang Feng was heading back to Purple Pearl Island. However, he didn't know that his battle had caused such a huge change in the sea. What's that? Hulaina and the others, who could already see the Purple Pearl Island, suddenly looked at the pillar of light in the distance. They were astonished. The pillar of light pierced through the clouds and brought up layers of clouds. It looked like the end of the world. What a strong soul power fluctuation! Old Shan's eyes flashed. That place is in the direction of the demonic whale ocean. It's hundreds of miles away, but the soul power fluctuation can travel so far. It's unbelievable. There should be a peerless expert fighting with the overlord of the sea. Hulaina and the others were stunned. Chapter 7:14. Could it be teacher? Yan's eyes lit up. But what's that pillar of light? Hulaina stared at it. There shouldn't be many people in the entire continent who could release such an aura. Could it be teacher? How strong is that overlord of the sea? Evil Moon muttered and shook his head. All right, stop guessing. Why don't you ask your teacher when he comes back? Old Shan laughed and pointed at a small island in front of them. There are people who came from the Sea God's Island on the Purple Pearl Island. You can ask them or ask them to bring you to the Sea God's Island. The three of them looked at the island in the distance. There was a huge rock in their hearts that couldn't be put down. What exactly happened in that sea area? Old Shan steered the boat into the harbor of Purplish Pearl Island. There were several soul cultivators with cold expressions and dressed in pirate clothing guarding the harbor. When they saw Old Shan, they seemed to recognize him and quickly walked over. After Old Shan talked with them for a while, Hulaina and the other two walked onto the island. These soul masters weren't strong. They were only around rank 30. Hulaina wasn't afraid. Old Shan mentioned that the strongest soul master among the Purple Pearl pirates was only a soul sage, and there was only one of them. They weren't afraid. After watching Hulaina and the other two leave the island, Old Shan's eyes flashed. After that, he steered the boat and quickly left. When he came to the sea, he whistled. The whistling was loud and clear. After a while, the sea started to ripple. Following that, several gigantic sea spirit beasts surrounded the boat. Their snow-white dorsal fins were exposed on the surface of the water. Through the blue water, one could vaguely see a gigantic figure. If other sea spirit beasts were to see this, they would be shocked. It was the strongest sea soul beast in the sea, the demon soul shark. The Sea God's Island this year is quite interesting. Old Shan stroked the head of a shark and whispered, Go back and report to them. Let them test the strength of these people. Not everyone can enter the Sea God's Island. The shark shook its head like a human. It seemed to indicate that it understood. Then, it sank to the bottom of the sea. Old Shan looked at the Purple Pearl Island in the distance. Then, he looked in another direction and a smile appeared on his face. A day later, Hulaina and the others saw the leader of the Purple Pearl pirates on the Purple Pearl Island. She was a woman who wasn't even 30 years old. She was a soul sage. She was beautiful and alluring. After the three of them expressed their intentions, the Purple Pearl she didn't make things difficult for them. After all, they were strong. Furthermore, Hulaina and the other two had given them a certain amount of gold soul coins, so the Purple Pearl captain generously agreed to their request. At the same time, they found a youth Ji-seong who knew the Sea God's Island. The two of them had come from the Sea God's Island, and had been chased out because they had failed the test. They were extremely familiar with the location of the Sea God's Island. Although Old Shan is a little strange and mysterious, he didn't lie to us. Hulaina said happily, Now, we just have to wait for teacher to come back. Then we can go to the Sea God's Island. The three of them waited for another day, but they did not see anyone. Instead, they saw another group of people today. Hulaina and the others planned to ask Ji-seong about the Sea God's Island. They didn't expect Ji-seong to bring back several men and women. It's Tang-san and the others. Hulaina said in a low voice, Why are they here? What should we do? Evil Moon frowned slightly. His Majesty the Pope said that if we meet Tang-san, Wang Feng, and the others on the Sea God's Island, we must destroy their test. However, we haven't even reached the Sea God's Island yet, and we've already met a second time. Should we? Evilmoon's eyes flashed with a cold light. But they didn't take the opportunity to attack us when we were killing the wolf bandits. Yen frowned. Instead, they killed those wolf bandits with us. I can't do it now. Hearing that, Evil Moon nodded. Let's make up for it. Hulaina said coldly. They didn't attack us last time. We won't attack them this time either. Besides, teacher isn't back yet. We'll talk about it when he comes back. Evil Moon and Yen agreed. In fact, for the three of them, or for the Martial Spirit Palace, the biggest enemy was no longer Tang San. It was Wang Feng, who repeatedly destroyed the operations of the Martial Spirit Palace and caused great losses to the Martial Spirit Palace 5 years ago. Therefore, although the three of them hated Tang San and the others, they didn't hate them so much. Besides, Tang San and the others didn't attack them when they were killing the wolf bandit. Therefore, the three of them didn't want to take advantage of the situation. The unexpected appearance of Tang San and the others on the Purple Pearl Island made Hulaina, Evil Moon, and the others more vigilant. A few more days passed. Tang San and the others woke up slowly. In fact, except for Tang San, the others woke up the next day after Ji Xiang and the others picked them up from the seaside. Only Tang San's injury was the most serious. He was the last to wake up. You were picked up by the seaside by me and the other brothers on the island. We don't know what kind of battle you went through, but your injury is the most serious. You were in a coma for 3 days, but your body is very strong. You were seriously injured, but you can recover in such a short time. Ji Xiang was an ordinary-looking young man, but he had a calm temperament and spoke unhurriedly. Tang San was a little silent. His mind was a little dizzy, but he could still remember the situation at that time. In his memory, he seemed to have jumped on the back of the demon whale and tried to absorb its energy, but he definitely couldn't survive. There were several others. In the end, the demon whale launched a more terrible attack. He had no way to protect them who were in a coma. The other 7 should be your partners, right? They're all awake, waiting for you on the other side. Ji Xiang looked at Tang San and said with a smile, but it seems that my herbs have some effect. Tang San glanced at the young man and then looked at the medicine bowl beside the bed. He got up and said, "Thank you. You know medicine?" The young man nodded. Tang San stood up and chatted for a while. After waiting for Ji Xiang to leave, he suddenly released Xiao Wu from his 100 treasures pouch. At the same time, his 6th soul ring lit up, and there was a wisp of soul consciousness hidden inside. Xiao Wu, do you know what happened at that time? Tang San looked at Xiao Wu, who had turned into a pink figure in the soul ring, and asked with a frown, "In that situation, it was impossible for me and the others to survive." Chapter 7:15. Elder brother, you're still talking about it? You idiot! Why didn't you let me out? That wisp of spiritual consciousness suddenly entered Xiao Wu's body. In an instant, that person's body was like a puppet that had gained consciousness and pounced towards Tang San. Although Xiao Wu could not be revived for the time being, when Tang San had subdued the 4 great single-element sects, Xiao Wu, who was originally just a little rabbit, had consumed an immortal herb given to her by the White Crane. She had turned into a real human, but she had no consciousness. Xiao Wu's spirit was hidden in her soul ring. She couldn't leave her soul ring for too long. I don't know either. Xiao Wu wiped her tears. I only sensed a very strong aura. After that, you fainted. I don't know anything else. After hearing this, Tang San was stunned. After that, he heaved a long sigh. He sensed the changes in his body and didn't know what to say. He used the 8-spider spear to absorb a small portion of the demon whale's energy. It was a blessing in disguise. Tang San walked out of the wooden house and saw the other 7 people. The 9 of them looked at each other. They felt as if they had been separated for a lifetime. They asked each other about their own situations. After that, they were confused about what happened that day. I've asked, Oscar said softly. Everyone on the island said that they saw an intense pillar of light that shot into the sky. It exudes an extremely powerful soul force fluctuation, and the location is the Demon Whale Sea region. The timing also matches. This means that after we lost consciousness that day, a peerless powerhouse must have appeared and fought with the demon whale, allowing us to survive. After he finished speaking, Oscar laughed bitterly. Little San, when we heard this news, we thought it was a fantasy. Tang San was silent. To be able to fight with such a beast, could it be one of the 3 exceptional Douluo that Elder Chen Xin told us about? Ma Hongjun scratched his head and said, "Didn't they say that there's a rank 99 exceptional Douluo on the Sea God's Island? Could it be her?" Before they went out to sea, the Sword Douluo had told them about the top 3 titled Douluo on the continent. Each of them was unbelievably strong. There was one in the Martial Soul Hall, one in the Sea God's Island, and one in the Clear Sky sect. That's not possible. Dai Mubai thought for a moment. Didn't Master say that people from the Sea God's Island wouldn't leave? Unless they were expelled. Oh, that Ji Xiang seemed to be from the Sea God's Island. He say he was expelled from the Sea God's Island because he didn't pass the test there. We've heard. There's also a piece of Dalu. Dai Mubai paused for a moment before continuing. The 3 members of the Golden Generation are also on the island. Moreover, they seem to be heading to the Sea God's Island as well. Tang San frowned when he heard this. However, they should have discovered us as well. Dai Mubai continued, because Ji Xiang said that when we were rescued by Ji Xiang, the 3 of them came looking for Ji Xiang. This means that they definitely saw us but didn't attack us. Tang San of the Tang Douluo, maybe it's because we didn't attack them when we were killing the wolf bandits. They didn't attack us either. Ma Hongjun pursed his lips. The 3 from the Golden Generation have some morals. Other than the Pope, I think most of the people from the Martial Soul Hall aren't bad people. Everyone nodded involuntarily. Let's rest for 2 days before we go to the Sea God's Island. Tang San pondered for a moment. I still need a few days to recover from my injuries. As for the Golden Generation, we don't have to care about them. As long as they don't mess around, we'll pretend they don't exist. After the 9 of them finished their discussion, they discussed the situation on Purple Pearl Island. At this moment, Wang Feng arrived at Purple Pearl Island. It was too far away. He had lured the devil whale away in the opposite direction and had even teleported a long distance. Furthermore, he had run out of soul power and was quite tired. He hadn't replenished his soul power yet, so he could only rest as he rushed over. Because of the battle, his soul power had increased by 1 rank, reaching rank 68. When he reached rank 69, Wang Feng's innate 5-element flags should be able to fully materialize, and his 6th soul skill would also appear. When he arrived at Purple Pearl Island, there were no accidents because Hulaina had already told the pirates on the island in advance. "Teacher, you're finally back." When Hulaina and the other 2 saw Wang Feng, they were extremely excited. For the past few days, the 3 of them had been on tenterhooks, afraid that something had happened to Wang Feng. Especially Hulaina, who had been praying every day. At this moment, seeing Wang Feng return safely, she couldn't help but rush over and hug him. Evil Moon and Yen both looked down as if they didn't see anything. It wasn't until she heard Wang Feng cough that Hulaina blushed and stood back in embarrassment. How was the situation on the island? Wang Feng glanced at the 3 of them and asked calmly. The 3 of them hurriedly told Wang Feng the situation and news they had heard. They also told him about seeing Tang San and the others on the island. "Not bad," Wang Feng muttered. "Since I'm back, let's set off for Sea God's Island." Hulaina nodded and suddenly asked, "Teacher, what happened to you in the Demon Whale Sea that day?" Hearing this, the other 2 looked at Wang Feng curiously. Even though a few days had passed, the 3 of them were still very curious about the situation that day. Not to mention seeing Wang Feng return safely at this moment. That day, Wang Fengxin's heart moved and his tone suddenly became a little more dignified. "I didn't expect that there would be such a powerful peerless figure in this world. Hearing this, the three of their expressions changed slightly. Even with the Pope's pride, for him to say such words, it seems that something shocking must have happened. At this moment, Lord Popetief's voice was low, as if he had returned to the scene at that time. When I went there, the closer I got to the center of the sea, the more I could feel the power of the overlord of the sea. According to my estimation, that demon whale has at least 500,000 years of cultivation, maybe 80 or 90 years. Because I have never seen such a powerful soul beast, I can't make an accurate judgment. Hearing this, the three of them were shocked, and they couldn't help but feel shocked. Was there really such a soul beast among the 100,000-year soul beasts? The sea was really vast and unpredictable, and there was actually such a level of existence. The three of them pricked up their ears and listened quietly like babies listening to a story. This beast was at least 200 meters long. With a gentle move, it could overturn the sea and set off a monstrous tsunami. With a light slap of its tail, millions of arrows rained down. Every move had the power to turn the sea upside down. Wang Feng said slowly, "Even I know that I can't defeat such a soul beast. Maybe with the help of the Pope and the head consecrator, I can defeat it. However, there was another peerless figure fighting with such a soul beast at that time." Chapter 7:16. The pillar of light you saw was emitted by this peerless figure. He fought against such a monster with his strength alone. With a divine weapon in his hand, he was like a god. With a casual move, he heavily injured the demon whale. Hearing this, the three of them were shocked again. Was there such a powerful peerless figure? With the help of the Pope and Lord Popetief, there was a possibility that they could defeat the demon whale. But it was injured by a casual move? The man and the beast exchanged more than 10 moves, but there was no clear winner. Wang Feng continued, but later that peerless figure might have felt that it was rather boring, so he left. The demonic whale then chased after him. I also chased after it, so I was delayed for a few days. What happened in the end? Hulaina asked carefully. In the end? In the end, the demon whale was scared and fled, Wang Feng said. The three of them. Hearing this, the three of them were amazed. They couldn't believe that there was such a terrifying existence in this world apart from His Majesty, the Pope, and the High Priest. It was no wonder that Lord Popetief couldn't help but praise this peerless figure. The three of them felt refreshed. Na Yen scratched his head and asked, "Teacher, did you see what this peerless figure looked like? What did he look like?" Wang Feng thought for a moment and said, "His charm was unparalleled. His appearance was not inferior to mine." Hearing this, Hulaina couldn't help but gasp. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Lord Popetief's appearance could topple the world. As long as he took off his mask, Hulaina would think without hesitation that even the leader of the Purple Pearl Pirates, who only liked women, would immediately kneel at Lord Popetief's feet. She didn't expect that this peerless figure's appearance was not inferior to Lord Popetief's. Thinking of this, Hulaina couldn't help but glance at Lord Popetief. It was rare to see a powerhouse like Lord Popetief who dared to directly admit his opponent's strength and appearance. But this was where Lord Popetief's charm lay. "Okay, that's all for today. Get ready, we're going to the Sea God's Island." Wang Feng waved his hand. The three of them gathered their thoughts and went back to make preparations while recalling what Popetief had said today. The next day, the three of them headed to the Sea God's Island. However, to their surprise, Tang San and his men had already set off 2 days in advance. Wang Feng didn't think much of it. After discussing with the Purple Pearl Pirates, he sent Ji Xiang to bring the 4 of them to Sea God's Island. "I've already sent Master and the others away a few days ago. They should have arrived by now." On the deck, Ji Xiang's expression was quite serious as she said, "I hope you can all arrive safely." "Master? Who did you take as your master?" Hulaina asked curiously. "Who is it among the 9? Tang San is my master." I never thought that he would also know medicine, and his medical skills are above mine. Furthermore, my talent is not good and he is actually willing to accept me as his disciple. Even our Lord Purple Pearl was subdued by Master. Ji Xiang said somewhat excitedly. He is truly a very powerful person. The three of them couldn't help but twitch their lips when they heard this. On the other hand, Wang Fengxin was thinking, is this also part of the original story? However, Ji Xiang's talent is indeed very poor. I don't know why Little Three wants to accept her as a disciple. Perhaps this is fate. It's too wonderful for words. We can only send you to the outside of Sea God's Island. There are definitely great white demon soul sharks nearby. It will be very dangerous for us if we get close. Ji Xiang looked into the distance. I'm sure you've heard of these island guardian beasts when you came. There are over 100 of them, and one of them is 100,000-year one. They are very dangerous. Sea God's Island actually doesn't welcome soul masters from land, so you have to think carefully. Old Shan had said something similar before, so Hulaina and the others were already mentally prepared. Very quickly, with Ji Xiang as their guide, they reached the vicinity of Sea God's Island in less than 2 days. Ji Xiang then waved goodbye to the four of them. After all, they were just employees and the Purple Pearl pirates were considered trustworthy. With Wang Feng's eyesight, he could clearly see a small island in the distance. However, it was many times bigger than Purple Pearl Island. With the speed of a normal small boat, they would need around 2 to 3 hours to reach it. Wang Feng didn't sit on the small boat that Ji Xiang gave him. Instead, he rode on the mysterious underworld flying sword and brought the three of them towards Sea God's Island. The great white demon soul sharks were flying in the sky. There was no way to attack them, right? But very quickly, Wang Feng realized that this was a mistake. Before the flying sword had even traveled for half an hour, densely packed dorsal fins appeared on the surface of the sea in front of them. It looked abnormally terrifying. Following that, Wang Feng felt a resistance. This resistance didn't come from below, but from Sea God's Island. Near Sea God's Island, there might be a special domain that existed. Wang Fengxin was shocked. He knew that this was most likely the Massacre God's domain in the City of Massacre. There was also a special restriction in the Rakshasa secret realm. In the Rakshasa secret realm, especially the Rakshasa temple, one couldn't even use their soul power once they entered. Near Sea God's Island, there was a similar special domain that restricted soul masters who could fly from entering Sea God's Island. Wang Feng felt that his spiritual power was blocked, and he could only lower the mysterious underworld flying sword slowly. As long as the flying sword was more than 10 meters high, Wang Feng felt that his spiritual power was extremely restricted. It was difficult for him to circulate his soul power. Perhaps only existences at the level of the 1,000 Dao stream could be immune to it. Wang Feng slowly released the original Sin domain. He looked at the densely packed dorsal fins around him. These dorsal fins were obviously the great white demon soul sharks. Teacher, look, Hulaina and the other two were already on their guard. At this moment they felt that they were surrounded by these great white demon soul sharks, and their hearts couldn't help but tremble. There were too many. Among them, there were quite a number of 10,000-year soul masters. In the center at the front there was a gigantic great white demon soul shark that was at least 20 meters long that was completely white. At this moment, it was using its huge eyes to stare at the four of them coldly. The situation instantly fell into an extremely dangerous situation. On the surface of the sea, there were so many great white demon soul sharks. No matter how many titled Douluo there were, they wouldn't be able to avoid them. Especially that 100,000-year great white demon soul shark. Although it wasn't their first time facing a 100,000-year soul beast, this great white demon soul shark gave them an extremely strong feeling. It was even stronger than the 5-headed stellar dragon and the headless general in the great star doe forest. At this moment, Wang Feng's original Sin domain covered 100 meters. Although some of the weaker great white demon soul sharks didn't dare to come close, many of the 10,000-year great white demon soul sharks were restless. "Teacher, what should we do?" Large beads of sweat appeared on Hulaina and the other two's foreheads. P.S. There are still a few chapters left. Looking at the computer for a long time, my eyes are a little sore. Chapter 7:17. They had heard old Shan, Ji Xiang, and the others talk about these great white demon sharks. But hearing about them and seeing them with their own eyes were two different things. Especially in the sea, the sense of crisis was like suddenly entering a room full of spikes. Then, they looked at the walls around them that were slowly closing in on them. The sea was more vast than the land, and the powerful soul beasts that were born in it had a natural geographical advantage. Normal soul masters could not resist them. The three of them leaned on Wang Feng's back and looked at Popediff. Wang Feng was also looking at the great white demon sharks. Compared to the three of them, he could feel it more clearly. These great white demon sharks did not have much killing intent. They just wanted to stop them from getting close to the sea god's island. This was especially true for the 100,000-year soul beast. Although it was looking at them coldly, if it really wanted to attack them, it would have already commanded the sharks to attack them. It would not just surround them. "Don't reveal your martial soul," Wang Feng said slowly. Revealing your martial soul is a declaration of war to him. The three of them were stunned. They wanted to possess their martial souls, but they immediately retracted their soul power. Then, Wang Feng retracted his domain. Without his domain, the great white demon shark's cold aura became more intense, causing the surrounding temperature to drop by a few degrees. The three of them did not dare to say anything. They did not know what Popediff wanted to do. They could not fight it head-on. Wang Feng naturally didn't have the confidence to fight against so many soul cultivators. Killing that 100,000-year-old great white demon shark in such a short amount of time wasn't very realistic even with his strength as the Pope, let alone a 10,000-year-old great white demon shark. Even if it was a 1,000-year great white demon shark, it was comparable to a 10,000-year soul beast. The great white demon shark was not an ordinary aquatic soul beast. It was a powerful aquatic soul beast. Wang Feng's spiritual power was like a stream. It gently rippled and stimulated his aura, spreading it in all directions. Wang Feng's aura was extremely pure and in harmony with nature. Even soul beasts would be affected by it. Back in the land of the extreme north, before he had even formed the dustless glass body, he was able to subdue 4 underlings. In addition to his powerful strength, part of the influence of this aura was also due to the influence of this aura, not to mention now that he had a real dustless glass body. However, from another perspective, Wang Feng's flesh and blood were extremely beneficial to these soul beasts. If it was an extremely bloodthirsty soul beast, then, however, these great demon soul sharks were the guardian soul beasts of the sea god's island, and they weren't extremely bloodthirsty sea soul beasts. After sensing Wang Feng's aura, many of the great white sharks calmed down a little. The coldness in his eyes had also lessened significantly. The 100,000-year-old great white demon soul shark looked surprised. It seemed to be curious as to why it felt so close to this person. But just based on this, you want it to give way? That was impossible. It let out a low roar, and countless great white sharks came closer to Wang Feng, forcing the 4 of them to retreat. They couldn't fly now, and Wang Feng's flying sword was only a few meters above the sea level. These great white sharks could easily attack them with a leap. Wang Feng frowned slightly. If he attacked these great white demon soul sharks, he would definitely be attacked by them. Attacking them was definitely not an option. As if thinking of something, Wang Feng's soul power circulated in his palm, and a blue flag appeared in his hand. Wang Feng wasn't sure about the name of this flag, because according to various myths and legends, this flag didn't have a specific name. Wang Feng remembered that it was called the Zhenwu Eagle Flag, and it was recorded in Journey to the West. It was a magic treasure that mainly focused on water. The flag looked blue, but it was slightly black. The cloud patterns on it were much darker than the blue, and it looked like the shape of waves. Soul power was slowly injected into it, and suddenly, the blue flag emitted a strong light that enveloped the three of them. In a split second, the surrounding waves suddenly calmed down. Wang Feng held the blue flag and waved it lightly. In a split second, monstrous waves surged up. While it was much weaker than the demonic whale, it was still very exaggerated. Wang Feng could vaguely sense that he was able to control all the seawater within the area covered by the flag. Even the soul beasts within the flag couldn't shake the waves created by the blue flag. In a split second, the waves that were dozens of meters tall split into two, as if a broad road had been opened. The seawater below was directly hollowed out to a depth of dozens of meters. Hundreds of great white demon soul sharks swam on both sides, as if they were completely isolated. Wang Feng controlled the Netherism flying sword and directly flew towards the sea god's island through the tunnel in the air. Those great white demon soul sharks jumped out from the 2 rows of waves to stop Wang Feng, but they were directly pushed back by the rolling waves. The 100,000-year great white demon soul shark at the front looked at the blue flag in Wang Feng's hand with some shock, and didn't move. Hulaina and the other 2 on the flying sword were also stunned. They didn't think that Pope Diff actually had this kind of ability. However, Wang Feng didn't feel very good. This blue flag consumed the same amount of spiritual power as the cloud flag, and the consumption was very exaggerated. The cloud flag was used to store soul beasts, and even 100,000-year soul beasts could be stored inside. And although this blue flag had the ability to control water, the consumption of spiritual power was also very exaggerated. This kind of water control wasn't just limited to water control, it could even affect and control the soul beasts in the water to a certain extent. The seawater in the area was all under Wang Feng's control, which was why he was able to do this. Otherwise, those great white demon soul sharks would have already jumped out. They wouldn't be controlled by the water like now, making it difficult for them to jump out. Only that 100,000-year great white demon soul shark could possibly attack. However, this 100,000-year great white demon soul shark didn't seem to have any intention of attacking. Wang Feng wasn't afraid. With his current space, he could move dozens of meters below. Controlling the mysterious dark flying sword, he could easily dodge the attacks of the great white demon soul sharks. Very quickly, Wang Feng passed through the group of great white demon soul sharks. These great white demon soul sharks could only watch as Wang Feng passed through right under their noses. Hulaina and the other 2 were agitated, excited, and a little curious. Towards the end, they were even leisurely looking at the various soul beasts in the 2 rows of wave. This kind of situation was roughly similar to when Wang Feng entered the aquarium's passageway and looked at the various ocean scenes around him. However, the passageway formed by this blue flag was even larger and more spacious. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.